Chapter 205. The first town Mang Failing said, "Big Brother Li, your father is an expert at finding evil beasts and demonic beasts, so we will listen to you." Big Brother Li smiled modestly. "I only learned a little bit from my father." When the others arrived at the shore, some headed in the direction of the Cloud Dragon mountain range, while others headed in other directions. However, Big Brother Li did not immediately hurry on his way. Instead, he looked at the footprints on the shore. Big Brother Li walked around and observed the messy footprints of the magical beasts. He said, "The magical beasts that came out aren't very big. The biggest ones are only like elephants. Magical beasts like the two-headed vulture and a lizard dragon are both spirit beasts. They belong to the lords of a region, so it shouldn't be easy to encounter them. We can rest assured." Qin Yun and company followed Brother Li and followed the footprints of the magical beasts. It had to be said that Brother Li was very experienced. Even if the footprints were very messy, he could still tell which magical beast the footprints belonged to. Not long after, they left the Myriad Star Lake. If I remember correctly, there should be a small town up ahead. Without the protection of the city walls, it will definitely be invaded by magical beasts. The people inside should have all retreated to the big city. Sister-in-law Li said in a low voice as she looked ahead. Although there were a lot of magical beasts, this land was also very large. Now that the magical beasts were scattered everywhere, it was not that easy to encounter them. I thought I would encounter magical beasts the moment I came out. Qin looked at the barren land. It was covered with the claw marks of magical beasts. There had indeed been a large group of magical beasts passing by, Brother Li said, although most of the magical beasts are not very intelligent. After forming a group of magical beasts, they will know how to cooperate under the orders of the Lord. And our target is the magical beasts that are alone or out on sentry duty. We definitely cannot face a huge horde of magical beasts unless we figure out the exact situation of the magical beasts and sneak in to assassinate them one by one. Qin Yun was secretly shocked by the unity of the magical beasts. Mang Failing did not understand much about this, so she could only follow Brother Li and his wife with Qin Yun. More than 2 hours later, a small town appeared in front of them. From afar, one could see that the small town was in a mess and many houses had been destroyed. This small city was located near the Star Xian Wu Academy, so it was relatively prosperous. The houses were all a few stories tall, and the streets were very spacious. If the magical beasts were to hide, they would not be able to be discovered from afar. "There are magical beasts inside." Brother Li's face darkened as he said in a low voice, "Are there many?" Mang Failing asked excitedly. Brother Li shook his head. "I'm not sure." Fei Ling said, "I'm Fei Ling, Mang Failing." Just as she was about to fly up, sister-in-law Li pulled her back. "Fei Ling, it's too risky for you to go like this. What if there are flying magical beasts?" "I'll go over," sister-in-law Li said. Li Failing, 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 Fei Failing, 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 Fei Failing, Fei Failing, Failing, Fei Failing, Failing. Li Puppet, Li, and a phone Li, brother. Li 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 Ling phone beast to Li of Yun. In. Li brother 2 Li Tian Tian beast. Little brother Yun, can you refine a flying puppet eagle for me in the future? I'll agree to whatever you want. Mang Failing held Qin Yun's hand and said in a sweet voice, "If I had the eagle totem, this wouldn't be a problem. Refining a puppet requires totem inscriptions." Qin Yun also wanted to refine a puppet that could fly. However, he didn't have a beast totem in this aspect. Mang Failing smiled and said, "When I find it, you must help me refine it. At that time, you can ask me to do anything." Her martial spirit was the eagle martial spirit. If she really obtained the eagle totem, her strength would definitely increase greatly. After Qin Yun released the silver lion puppet and entered the small town, he quickly saw a three-eyed tiger wolf behind a large house. The tiger wolf had a wolf's head, a tiger's mouth, and a tiger's body. Its entire body was covered in gray patterns, and there was no fur on its body. Instead, it was covered in needle-like thorns. "We've been discovered." Qin Yun could not help but shout before hurriedly controlling the silver lion puppet to run out. Brother Li hurriedly said, "Prepare for battle." The silver lion puppet's running speed was also very fast. After running out of the town, the 5 to 6 meter long, three-eyed tiger wolf also rushed out and quickly caught up to the silver lion puppet. Roar! After the three-eyed tiger wolf roared, it suddenly leaped up and threw the silver lion puppet to the ground. Then, it used its mouth full of sharp teeth to bite the tiger wolf's neck. In just a few moves, the silver lion puppet's head was bitten off. Qin Yun and company were dumbfounded. These magical beasts were too ferocious. My silver lion puppet was made from very strong materials, but it was actually destroyed in a few moves. The strength of these magical beasts is very terrifying. Qin Yun gritted his teeth and controlled the silver lion puppet to self-destruct. Boom! After the silver lion puppet self-destructed, it sent the three-eyed tiger wolf flying. Go! Brotherly took out a 3-section rod and flew over like the wind. Meng Failing also took out a long whip and flew in the air towards the three-eyed tiger wolf. Sister-in-law Li took out a bough that was only the size of a palm. Under her control, the bough suddenly grew bigger. It was a spirit artifact that could be big or small, and it was also very precious. She jumped into the air and pulled the bowstring. She used the Vajra inner strength to condense an arrow. After pulling the bow fully, the bowstring vibrated and the arrow condensed from the inner strength flew out. In an instant, it flew more than 1,000 meters and shot at the three-eyed tiger wolf's head. Following that, she quickly pulled the bowstring and shot 3 arrows in a row. Each arrow hit the three-eyed tiger wolf. However, the three-eyed tiger wolf was extremely tenacious. Although it was covered in blood, it was still extremely ferocious and let out a soul-stirring roar. Brotherly rushed forward with all his might. After more than 10 seconds, he got close to the three-eyed tiger wolf. Then he swung his 3-section rod and struck the head of the tiger wolf that was charging at him. Bang! The 3-section rod landed on the tiger wolf's head and produced a very strong wave of inner strength. The huge three-eyed tiger wolf was sent flying dozens of meters by him and landed heavily on the ground. The moment he landed, sister-in-law Li, who was in the distance, added another arrow. Meng Failing also landed. The long whip in her hand was filled with Vajra inner strength. With a pa-pa-pa sound, she whipped the tiger wolf's body in the air. The heavy whipping caused the tiger wolf to sink into the mud, unable to flip over. After Brotherly came over, Meng Failing stopped whipping and rested by the side. Sister-in-law Li had already prepared her bow and arrow, preparing to attack again. When Brotherly finished beating it ruthlessly, Qin Yun rushed over and shouted, "Let me do it!" Following that, he brandished the giant king spirit hammer and used the 6-style forging dragon on the three-eyed tiger wolf. With just 4 strikes, the tiger wolf's head was smashed to pieces. It's finally dead. Take out the magic core and see how heavy it is. Brotherly said. He was secretly shocked by Qin Yun's terrifying hammer technique. Meng Failing and sister-in-law Li floated in the air, vigilant of their surroundings, guarding against any magical beast that might exist in the town. Brotherly took out a knife and cut open the magical beast. He found a bead and held it in his hand. It was heavy and weighted. It weighed 8 jin. He handed the magic core to Qin Yun. 8 jin of magic core. This is a Class 8 magical beast. It can be exchanged for 1,000,000 Xian points. The couple had promised Qin Yun that they would help him get 200 million Xian points. They had to kill a total of 200 Class 8 magical beasts. Fortunately, it was not difficult to kill them. With the cooperation of the few of them, they could settle it in a few moves. The beast bones and skin are pretty good, but because of the overflow of magical beast corpses, they aren't of much value anymore. Brotherly said. This was of great value to Qin Yun. After his tempering, it was a pretty good material for refining artifacts. He took away the magical beast skin and bones. Vice Principal Xia Yuan said that the beast cores of magical beasts are all the same size, but their weights are different. A Class 9 magical beast core weighs 9 jin, while a spirit beast weighs 100 jin. This shows how strong a spirit beast is. Sister-in-law Li slowly landed on the ground and said. Qin Yun looked at the fragments of the silver lion puppet and felt his heart ache. He could only refine a better one in the future. There shouldn't be any other magical beasts in the town. Otherwise, they would have run out long ago. Brother Li said. After that, the four of them went in together. There were many traces of magical beasts staying inside. The houses were severely damaged, but there were no other magical beasts. Could it be that because this place is far from the Star Xianwu Academy, the magical beasts don't dare to stay? Meng Fei Ling said. Brother Li looked in a direction and said, It should be. It looks like we can only go to that place. The first town? Sister-in-law Li said. Brother Li nodded. The first town was a very large town. Because it was originally a small town, it gradually developed into a very large town. This first town did not have any city walls, and its location was not under the control of the three empires or other small countries. It was far away from many large cities and was not near a powerful martial arts academy. There was a high chance that there would be a large number of magical beasts there. All right, let's go to the first town to take a look. Qin Yun agreed. They immediately rushed to the first town. The first town was located at the intersection of the Tianqi Empire and the Tianshao Empire. It was also near the Cloud Dragon River. The entire town spanned hundreds of thousands of meters and was extremely large. It was also very messy. Fugitives from various countries were gathered here. They were all criminals or some clans that had failed to seize power in the empire. There were also many powers inside. After the appearance of the magical beasts, many people in the first town thought that they could deal with the magical beasts if they joined forces. However, they did not expect that the magical beasts would be so powerful that tens of thousands of people would become food for the magical beasts. After 2 days of traveling, Qin Yun and company arrived at the top of a bear mountain and looked at the first town in the distance. At a glance, there were countless houses arranged in a dense and messy manner, as far as the eye could see. Black smoke and flames rose from many parts of the first town, and a large number of houses collapsed. The sky was shrouded in a thick, baleful aura, and the town was filled with waves of death aura. This first town had completely fallen. When we came here, we encountered a few magical beast hordes. Fortunately, we didn't enter the core of their territory. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to safely arrive here. Brother Li looked at the first town and said, In this first town, there must be many territories of magical beasts. We must be especially careful when we enter. Qin Yun and company nodded. He recalled the time he had passed through the territory of the magical beasts and felt a lingering fear. Once he stepped into the territory, he would be able to sense a terrifying aura. It was a warning from a spirit beast. If they did not leave the territory, a large number of powerful magical beasts would appear. Qin Yun and company had been chased by a horde of magical beasts before. Thankfully, they were very fast and were able to successfully escape their pursuit. Chapter 206. Pack of Demon Wolves. However, Qin Yun and company were not the only ones who wanted to enter the first town. The students of the other martial academies could also do the same. In addition, there were also teams sent by the various major powers to hunt magical beasts and obtain their magic cores. Right now, everyone said that they did not know the uses of the magic cores. Qin Yun felt that the old men from the Star Xianwu Academy definitely knew a little. Otherwise, they would not have collected a large number of magic cores. Sister-in-law Li had a worried look on her face as she watched the extremely fast team enter the city. She said in a low voice, It looks like we'll not only have to face powerful magical beasts inside, but we'll also have to face other hunting teams. The various Xian-level martial academies were all retrieving the magic cores. A single magic core could be exchanged for a large number of Xian points. If they could directly snatch it from others, those greedy people would definitely make a move. For greedy people, they could do anything. Let's not worry about it for now. Let's go in first. We're not vegetarians. Unless we meet someone at the 9th level martial body realm, we won't be that easy to deal with. Brother Li was very clear about the strength of his team. In order to obtain Xian points, he had to take risks. After resting, they immediately entered the first town. As soon as they entered, a strong smell of magical beasts pounced on them. This smell was unique to magical beasts. It wasn't a stench, but a very special smell. It was similar to the smell of wet mud. Many houses have been destroyed. Some places have been through a great battle, and there aren't even any ruins left. As Brotherly walked, he looked at the beautiful houses that had been destroyed. Because there were a lot of people here, all kinds of houses were built very high, with more than a few floors. Meng Failing said, "This is the outer area. Although this area is far from the bustling central area, it is also the easiest place to evacuate. There shouldn't be many magical beasts outside. There were many feces or furs left behind by magical beasts on the ground. This meant that a large number of magical beasts had once entered the first town." Qin Yun and company moved very slowly. They did not rush inside like the previous team. If they walked slowly, they would be able to clearly sense the situation around them and avoid ambushes. After all, these magical beasts had a certain level of intelligence. If they were to encounter a group of ambushes, it was very likely that they would die here. Half a day later, they had already entered an even deeper place. If they wanted to pass through the first town, they would have to walk a very long way. There are a few magical beasts up ahead. They're all rank 8. Should we make a move? Big Brotherly suddenly said. It was unknown how he had sensed it. Qin Yun released his mental energy to probe. Indeed, he could vaguely sense the aura of the 5 magical beasts. However, it was extremely thin. If he did not specifically probe, he would not be able to discover it. While he was amazed at Brotherly's perception ability, he was also shocked at the magical beast concealment ability, which could be said to be very superb. His spiritual force was so powerful that he could not sense it. If 5 Class 8 magical beasts were to attack together, we might not be able to hold them off. Why don't we give it a try and see if we can split them up and attack them one by one? Qin Yun said. My wife, when I rush over, immediately float in the air and shoot 5 arrows consecutively. You must hit those 5 magical beasts. This way, I can take advantage of the moment the magic beasts are hit and ruthlessly attack them. Failing, Qin Yun, the 2 of you act according to the situation. Be careful and attack those magical beasts that are scurrying around. Brotherly told them the battle plan he had in mind. Qin Yun and Meng Failing nodded. Everyone, you have to believe in me. If there's anything wrong, remember to run. There are a lot of magical beasts here, so there's no need to be afraid that this operation will fail. As long as we don't get hurt, then we'll make a profit. Brotherly sternly warned Qin Yun and Meng Failing. He was worried that the 2 youngsters would not let go of this opportunity and escape. Got it. I will definitely remember Brother Li's words. Qin Yun said. Brotherly, don't worry. Meng Failing smiled. Brotherly smiled at them and nodded. Then, he rushed towards the tall buildings in front of him. Sister-in-law Li immediately soared into the air. Qin Yun and Meng Failing flew over as well. Sister-in-law Li, who was floating in the air, suddenly saw a few black demonic wolves that were 2 to 3 meters long jump out. She hurriedly pulled her bowstring and shot out 5 arrows in just 2 seconds. The arrows that were shot out were all condensed from the Vajra in her strength. The power was extremely tyrannical, and they were all able to accurately hit the wolf's head. The 5 black demonic wolves that had rushed out were instantly beaten to the point of howling as they rolled on the ground. Qin Yun secretly admired sister-in-law Li's strength. She was a good archer. He suspected that sister-in-law Li's martial spirit was a bow and arrow martial spirit. Otherwise, she would not have been able to reach such a superb realm. Brotherly, Qin Yun and Meng Failing each dealt with a demonic wolf. The moment they went over, the demonic wolf was struck by their thunderous attacks the moment it stood up. Especially Qin Yun. He held the giant king spirit hammer that was close to a high-grade spirit artifact. He executed the 6-style forging dragon and ruthlessly hammered the wolf's head. In just 2 or 3 strikes, the wolf's head exploded. Sister-in-law Li, who was in the air, shot arrows at the 2 demonic wolves that no one attacked. Her arrows were very fast and accurate. Although she could not blow up the wolf's head, she could make the magical beasts unable to attack for a short period of time. After the head was severely injured, all aspects would be greatly reduced. Brotherly was the fastest to kill the demonic wolves. After dealing with one demonic wolf, he would attack the other. Meng failing wasn't bad either. The whip in her hand lashed out and sent the demonic wolf flying. Under the cooperation of the four of them, the 5 Class 8 demon wolves were annihilated in an instant. Be careful! Brotherly suddenly sensed something and shouted at sister-in-law Li, who was in the air. Qinyan also sensed a force flying over from afar and striking sister-in-law Li. Sister-in-law Li! Meng failing cried out in alarm. A strong beam of light shot over from afar. With a single glance, one could tell that it was not the attack of a magical beast, but a human. The moment Qin Yun saw the beam of light, he hurriedly used his powerful mental energy to envelop sister-in-law Li. He forcefully dragged her down and narrowly dodged the beam of light. The beam of light hit a building that was more than 10 stories tall in the distance, causing it to explode into pieces. Many rubble and bricks flew everywhere. Thank you, Xiaoyan. That was close. Sister-in-law Li landed on the ground with lingering fear in her heart. You're welcome. Qin Yun hurriedly looked in the direction of the beam of light as he felt infuriated. Brotherly said to Qin Yun, Xiaoyan, go and collect the corpses of the demonic wolves first. Let me deal with those fellows. Qin Yun went over to store the corpse of the demonic wolf into his storage spirit artifact and came behind Brotherly. Brotherly's face was cold and filled with anger. That was because the attack just now had almost seriously injured his wife. The people who attacked sister-in-law Li also appeared. They were 6 middle-aged men dressed in black armor. The middle-aged man in the lead looked rather old. His hair was somewhat white, and there were wrinkles at the corners of his eyes. This middle-aged man was 2 meters tall and strong. His face was filled with disdain. The tall middle-aged man sneered at Brotherly and said, Your luck is not bad. You actually managed to dodge my attack. Where are you from? Brotherly said coldly, Star Xianwu Academy. What did you mean by that? You almost hurt my wife. You must give me an explanation. Star Xianwu Academy? The tall middle-aged man swept his gaze across Qin Yun and company before his gaze landed on the seductive Meng failing. We are warning you. We are here. Hurry up and leave. This is our hunting territory. The tall middle-aged man looked at the place where the demonic wolf had been killed and said angrily, What did you kill? Take it out, it's ours. He didn't know why they were so angry, but it could be seen that they were all very arrogant people. They were all at the 8th level martial body realm, and there were 6 of them. Qin Yun and company only had 4 people. Why should I give it to you? Brotherly was also extremely angry as he shouted coldly. The tall middle-aged man sneered. You think you could be so arrogant in front of us with just a few small fries? Do you know who we are? We are from the Tianling Empire, and we are all from the Ling Xianwu Academy. Our empire has the support of the Ling Xianwu Academy's vice principal. We even drank with the vice principal a while ago. Let me tell you, my name is Yin Sheng. I am the great general of the Tianling Empire. Qin Yun was puzzled. Those who dared to call themselves an empire were all countries with a certain level of strength. He had never heard of this Tianling Empire. Meng failing and the others were the same. However, they knew that this Tianling Empire was supported by the Ling Xianwu Academy. You know fear. Our Tianling Empire is a new empire. Hurry up and hand over the magical beasts you just hunted, and we can let you scram back to the Star Xianwu Academy. Yin Sheng sneered. His words were filled with contempt for the Star Xianwu Academy. Although the relationship between the Star Xianwu Academy and the other 2 Xianwu Academies was not good, it was not bad either. Brotherly gritted his teeth. If not for the fact that Qin Yun and Meng failing, the 2 juniors, were here, he would have fought with the 6 middle-aged men to the death. The 6 of them were all at the 8th level martial body realm. They all had storage spirit artifacts on them, and they definitely carried spirit artifacts. Furthermore, they did not want a magical beast to be so easy to deal with. If they really fought, neither side would have a good outcome. Not good. There's a large group of magical beasts coming. This is the territory of the wolf pack. The spirit beast level wolf king is coming. Qin Yun suddenly shouted in alarm. his face filled with fear. Spirit beasts could only be dealt with by martial Dao cultivators. When Yin Sheng and company heard this, their faces were filled with shock. "Brat, are you lying to us?" Yin Sheng sneered. "In front of me, you still a woo." Suddenly, a wolf's howl was heard as a terrifying aura enveloped them. Yin Sheng's expression changed drastically. Without saying a word, he turned around and ran. His subordinates also had faces filled with fear as they ran away. "Let's go." Brother Li's voice was also very anxious. He could sense that a large group of magical beasts was approaching. However, he was very sure that the area they were in was not the territory of the magical beasts. "I was the one who attracted the pack of wolves just now." As Qin Yun ran, he said, "A wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. The four of us are not their match, but they do not know our names. We only know that guy's name is Yin Sheng. We'll go find him later." Chapter 207. Late night assassination. Brother Li and his wife did not say anything. They knew better than Qin Yun that if Yin Sheng and company were to make a move, they would definitely suffer. They might even be seriously injured. "When we get back, we'll investigate their situation. We can't let them off easily," Qin Yun said coldly. These fellows are too arrogant." Brother Li nodded. Soon, they were far away from the pack of wolves. They did not go deep into the city. Instead, they continued to linger outside the first town, searching for the magical beast that had gone out to search. The 5 demon wolves from before had come out to patrol. Therefore, Qin Yun determined that there was a pack of wolves nearby. He released his mental energy and alarmed the nearby pack of wolves. Furthermore, when they killed the 5 demon wolves, the commotion was not small, and it had alarmed the pack of wolves. Qin Yun was only speeding up the arrival of the pack of wolves. In the evening, they hid in a spacious room on the 10th floor of a tall building. Brother Li took out the flag array and inserted it into the 4 walls of the room. This could conceal their auras. Today's harvest was not bad. He had obtained 5 Class 8 magic cores, which was 5 million Shin points. It was a very long process to gather 200 million Shin points. Even if Qin Yun was in a hurry, it was useless. From time to time, Meng Fei Ling would fly out to patrol her surroundings. At night, it was safer for her to fly high in the sky. The higher she was, the further she could see. The pack of wolves we encountered before should be relatively weak. After Meng Fei Ling returned, she said, "I just went out and flew around. There are no other magical beasts in the area outside." Qin Yun and Brother Li understood what she meant. There were very few magical beasts outside, which meant that the magical beasts were concentrated in the deeper parts of the first town. The pack of wolves must have been injured after losing in the battle for territory, which was why they ran out. Brother Li frowned and said, "After that, General Yin Sheng reports back. Maybe the Tianling Empire will send powerful warriors to deal with the pack of wolves. They will definitely be able to think that the pack of demon wolves are very weak." Sister-in-law Li sighed. "What a pity. If there was a martial Dao realm cultivator among us, we might not need to be afraid of that pack of demon wolves. Why don't we wait for daybreak and sneak back? Assassinate the demon wolves inside and get as many as you can." Qin Yun said. He was very confident in his stealth ability, especially at night. With their strength, entering the first town's densely packed magical beasts would only result in death. In the first town center, there must have been many people who died tragically and were hoarded as food. That was why there were so many magical beasts hiding there. "All right, we will approach it carefully tomorrow. Our concealment abilities aren't bad, so we shouldn't be discovered by the wolves." Brother Li agreed with Qin Yun's thoughts. "Sister-in-law, next time, just hide in the building and shoot arrows. With your superb archery skills as cover, we will be very safe." Meng Feiling smiled and said, "I also want to learn this archery skill from you." "Great. I was just worried that no one would practice archery with me." Sister-in-law Li laughed. "You have the Platinum Eagle martial spirit. It allows you to have very good eyesight. It allows you to shoot more accurately from farther places." They chatted and did not need to rest. As long as they relaxed their bodies, they could recover from their fatigue. It was very dangerous to sleep and rest in such a dangerous place. At daybreak, Qin Yun and company immediately set off and returned to the area where the wolves roamed. The buildings in this area were very densely packed. They were all several stories tall. They carefully climbed over the roofs of the buildings and slowly approached the territory of the wolves. If the demon wolf lord is really injured and can take down a spirit beast level demon wolf, that would be 50 million Xian points, Meng Failing said in a low voice. Then, with a light leap, she jumped from the top of an 8-story building to the top of a 10-story building. Brotherly smiled and said, "It's not bad to think about it, but it won't be that easy to fight. Unless we can clearly investigate the strength of the entire pack of wolves. If there are still a few Class 9 demon wolves in the pack, then don't even think about it." They felt that if they cooperated well, they would be able to kill a Class 9 demon wolf, but they would not be able to deal with a group of them. After half a day, they finally returned to the area where the wolves roamed. They were on top of a 20-story building, and through the window, they looked into the distance. "Did you see that? Those wolves are all in the building. They only entered the shops on the first floor to hide. There shouldn't be any upstairs," Brotherly said as he pointed to a circular 10-story building in the distance. Qin Yun hurriedly nodded. After a period of observation, they discovered that there was a demon wolf hidden on the first floor of the building in that area. Its exact strength was unknown. The buildings are separated by some distance, and their distribution is rather sparse. If we can kill them in one strike and not let the demon wolf make any movements, we might be able to launch a sneak attack, Brotherly said. Qin Yun thought for a moment and said, "Brotherly, I'll go over tonight. I should be able to make the demon wolf faint in an instant if I use my mental energy attack. I'm not sure about the specifics. I haven't tried it on magical beasts yet, but I feel that magical beasts are about the same as humans." Brotherly nodded and said, "All right, wife, you and Failing are in charge of hiding in the building. If anything happens, you will be in charge of providing support. If our actions alarm the pack of beasts, wife, you will shoot arrows to repel the wolves that are surrounding us. Failing will fly in the air and attract the attention of the other wolves to reduce the pressure on us." Following that, they carefully discussed various tactics. If other situations were to occur, they would discuss how to deal with them. At night, the sky turned dark. There were a lot of clouds in the sky, and from time to time, a large patch of clouds would float by, causing the world to flicker between darkness and light. Qin Yun and Brotherly began to move. They took 2 separate routes to a building a few hundred meters away and entered through the window. Through the stairs inside the building, they carefully walked down the first floor of the building. Qin Yun let Brotherly stay up there while he used the shadow power of the Nether Sun Martial Spirit to hide himself in the darkness. He smoothly arrived at the first floor. From this aura, it should be a Class 9 demon wolf. Should we make a move? When Qin Yun approached, he realized that the sleeping demon wolf had an extremely terrifying aura. It was even stronger than the Class 8 magical beasts he had encountered before, even though their bodies were only about 2 to 3 meters long. Therefore, he determined that this was a Class 9 demon wolf. While he was hesitating, he suddenly saw that there were many scratches on the demon wolf's body. It must have fought with other magical beasts and was already severely injured. "All right, let's do it." Qin Yun used the spirit concentration kill and condensed a powerful mental energy to strike the Class 9 demon wolf's head. The demon wolf's body trembled. It knew that it had been attacked. However, its mind had been severely injured, causing it to fall into a coma. It was unable to control its body or make a sound. When Brotherly saw that Qin Yun had succeeded, he immediately rushed down and shot out a transparent powder that enveloped the destroyed shop. Then, he took out a knife and very quickly cut off the wolf's head. The transparent powder he sprinkled could eliminate the smell of blood and, at the same time, produce a kind of life force. Otherwise, if this demon wolf died, the nearby demon wolves would definitely be able to sense its life force disappear and know that something was wrong. Brotherly took out a transparent and pure magic core. He was secretly surprised because this magic core was heavier than the magic core of the Class 8 magical beast. Qin Yun did not take away the corpse of the magical beast. He left it here to imitate the aura of life and not be discovered by the other demon wolves. This way, they could continue assassinating the other demon wolves. Qin Yun rested for a moment. After recovering his mental energy, he continued to move with Brother Li. He had to maintain an abundant amount of mental energy at all times. This was also to leave himself a backup plan. Their plan was very successful, and they easily obtained another 8th grade magic core. The powder that Brother Li scattered was very useful. Not only could it eliminate the smell of blood, it could also maintain the vitality of the magical beast corpse for a period of time. It could be seen that he had often assassinated beasts in the past, and his techniques were very experienced. If not for that powder, they would have been discovered as long as they killed a demon wolf. These demon wolves were very sensitive to the smell of blood. As long as a drop of blood appeared, they would immediately wake up. In more than 2 hours, they had killed 10 Class 8 demon wolves and 2 Class 9 demon wolves. To be able to obtain such a huge harvest in such a short period of time, it could be said that their luck was pretty good. If they hadn't met a defeated pack of wolves, they wouldn't have had such a chance. What shocked them was that the demon wolves they killed all had shocking scratches on their bodies. It was obvious that the pack of wolves had encountered a pack of beasts that was even more terrifying than them, which was why they had been beaten to the point of fleeing. He had been in the wolf territory for 4 hours and had killed 4 Class 9 demon wolves and 20 Class 8 demon wolves. What made Qin Yun and company depressed was that the powder had been used up. Otherwise, they could have continued killing. Qin Yun and Brother Li were on the roof. Just as they were about to leave, they suddenly sensed a gust of air sweeping past them. It was a person flying in the air. There were only Meng Failing and sister-in-law Li nearby, and they would not come over. Qin Yun and company were all dressed in black and had concealed their auras. The world was incomparably dark, so the person flying in the sky did not notice them. Brother Li pulled Qin Yun back into the building because there were a few gusts of wind that appeared. It should be Yin Sheng and the others. Are they planning to ambush the pack of wolves as well? Qin Yun said with a sneer. Then he took out a lightning talisman from his storage space and pasted it on the wall. He injected a strand of his mind into it. This allowed him to activate the lightning talisman from afar. Let's go. Brother Li also knew that Qin Yun wanted to destroy Yin Sheng's group's infiltration. Qin Yun and Brother Li carefully returned from the rooftop in the middle of the night. Soon, they arrived at the tall building where Meng Failing and company were. Sister-in-law Li and Meng Failing had been staring at the rooftop the entire time, watching for the whereabouts of Qin Yun and Brother Li. If there was any movement, they would immediately take action. Meng Failing said in a low voice, "We saw others enter. There's even a martial Dao realm cultivator among them." Sister-in-law Li nodded. "There are a total of 10 people. There are people at the 9th or 8th level martial body realm. They should be from that Tianling Empire. All right, let's retreat now." Qin Yun smiled mischievously. "It's time for us to wake up the wolves." Chapter 208. Armored giant crocodile Yin Sheng had already known that there was a pack of wolves here. Just like Qin Yun and company, he guessed that the pack of wolves had been repelled. Therefore, he immediately returned to report. At that time, he had even been praised by a martial Dao realm expert. Now he had also followed those seniors here. They were all very strong, and their sneak attacks and concealment techniques were much more brilliant than Qin Yun's. However, they discovered that many of the Class 8 demon wolves were dead, and their magic cores had been taken out. It's life force powder. Damn it, there are still others here. We have to be careful of this person. The old man was extremely angry as he transmitted his voice to the others. It should be those bastards from the Star Xianwu Academy. However, they're not strong, so they definitely won't dare to touch the Wolf King. Let's go kill the Wolf King directly. The 8th and 9th stage demon wolves here have probably been killed by them. Yin Sheng said with a voice transmission. He was extremely angry in his heart. All right. The old man in the martial Dao realm nodded. Just as they were about to set off, there was a sudden boom. A building shot out lightning in all directions, emitting waves of strong lightning aura before slowly collapsing. Such a huge commotion had alarmed the entire pack of wolves. Illo! An earth-shattering wolf howl resounded through the dark night sky. A strong killing intent from a magical beast instantly spread out in all directions, enveloping a radius of several thousand meters. This was the roar of the Wolf King. Those bastards from the Star Xianwu Academy, they must have done it. Let's quickly retreat. Yin Sheng shouted angrily. You clashed with that group of people? Why didn't you tell us about this? Otherwise, we would definitely be on guard. The old man was also extremely angry as he shouted at Yin Sheng sternly before leaping up. Just as they leaped up, a demon wolf leaped into the air. As it roared, it spat out a purple beam of light that struck a black-clothed, middle-aged man and blasted him into several pieces. Oh, the wolf howled incessantly as it crazily attacked the people flying in the air. The enraged Wolf King released waves of terrifying pressure and used its aura to lock onto the people in the air. A purple beam of light shot out from its eyes and struck the three middle-aged men. The three middle-aged men were instantly torn apart by the purple beam of light. When Yin Sheng saw this, he felt incomparable fear. He increased his speed and distanced himself from the Wolf King's sensing range. Qin Yun and company also saw this scene from afar. They are very happy. These bastards who told them to be so arrogant and even attacked sister-in-law. Meng Failing laughed. This debt is not over yet, Qin Yun said with a sneer. Unless this Yin Sheng guy dies. Big Brotherly nodded. They had already reaped a bountiful harvest tonight. Now that they saw Yin Sheng and the others fleeing, they were all incomparably happy. Let's go. Let's leave the wolf pack's territory first, Brotherly said with a smile. Then, he began to retreat from the roof. Yin Sheng and the others had more than 10 people, but in the end, only 6 people successfully retreated. They were in a forest, and their expressions were very ugly. Yin Sheng, it's all your fault. You didn't even tell us when you became enemies with others. Otherwise, we wouldn't have lost 3 9th level martial body and 3 8th level martial body. Not only did we not kill the Wolf King, we even lost so many experts and suffered heavy losses. The old man of the martial Dao realm looked at Yin Sheng and said angrily. Yin Sheng was also filled with anger. If everything had gone smoothly, he would have been able to obtain the appreciation of this martial Dao realm senior. But now, because of him, he had suffered such heavy losses. He gritted his teeth and said, Senior, this is all this junior's fault. I will definitely chop off the heads of those 4 fellows and bring them back to the Tianling Empire. This is a must. The specific reason for the death of our 6 companions is not to be spread out. Just say that we were attacked by a few magical beasts and they sacrificed themselves. The old man said. Half of the people he had let out had died. If he were to reveal the real reason, his reputation would not be good. At daybreak, Qin Yun and company also went to a safe area. They hid in a stone building built with thick stone bricks. 4 Class 9 magic cores, 5 million Xian points each. This can be exchanged for 20 million Xian points. 26 Class 8 magic cores could be exchanged for 26 million Xian points each, a total of 46 million. After these magical beasts appeared, the speed at which we earned Xian points became faster and faster. Brotherly sighed. The couple did not want these cores because they had promised Qin Yun that they would help him obtain 100 million Xian points. Of course, Meng Failing did not want it either. She had promised Qin Yun that she would devote her life to him. Let's take a stroll outside first. If we can't meet any magical beasts, we'll go deeper, Brotherly said. Qin Yun nodded. With the help of a small team, it would be much easier and faster to hunt magical beasts. Otherwise, he did not know how long it would take for him to obtain so many magic cores. Those 2 storage bags were something he had casually refined when he was bored. Now that he could exchange them for so many Xian points, he felt that it was worth it. In the future, when I find a good channel, I'll use a storage spirit artifact to exchange for magic cores. Qin Yun suddenly had a strange thought. If that was really the case, he only needed to use a few inferior storage bags to exchange for a lot of magic cores. Right now, he did not know how to carry it out. Furthermore, he did not wish for his storage spirit artifact to fall into the hands of some evil people. He needed to find a good buyer. In the next few days, Qin Yun's team of 4 got very annoyed from wandering around the area outside. They did not find any traces of magical beasts, so they decided to go deeper. The closer they got to the center of the first town, the more exquisitely built stone buildings there were. The streets were also much wider, and the buildings were arranged neatly. However, this originally bustling street was now empty. The exquisite stone buildings were all tattered by the magical beasts. Only a few of them were intact. We're only in the 4th district of the first town. The area we were in before was the 5th district, and the center is the 1st district. Brother Li said, "If there are no magical beasts in the 4th district, let's leave. It'll be dangerous if we go in again." Sister-in-law Li said, "I heard that in the 1st and 2nd districts, there's an extremely dense amount of spiritual energy. Many people want to stay there. Those who have settled down in these 2 areas definitely don't want to leave. There might even be living people dealing with the magical beasts inside." The first town was very big, and it was also a good place for many vicious people to hide from pursuit. The stronger the person, the more likely they would be in the middle area. Therefore, there might be quite a few martial Dao realm experts inside. If humans joined forces, they would be able to fight against the magical beasts. If possible, I would like to enter the 1st district to see if there are really humans inside. Brother Li said with a smile, "If there are, I want to join them and fight against the magical beasts with them." Meng Failing laughed. "Big Brother Li, even if there are, they will definitely have to hide. This kind of life is not easy." After she finished speaking, she flew high into the sky and hid in the clouds. Meng Failing's eagle martial spirit allowed her to fly very fast, faster than Qin Yun, Brother Li, and company. Furthermore, it consumed less internal energy. Furthermore, her eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. Flying high in the sky, she could discover prey on the ground. As long as the magical beasts weren't hiding in the house, she would be able to see them. A moment later, Meng Failing landed with a face full of joy. She said, "I found a lone, armored giant alligator. It's most likely a Class 9 magical beast. Its body is more than 10 meters long, and its entire body is emitting a metallic luster. It should be a magical beast with an extremely strong defense." Sister Failing, you're really amazing. You can still see so clearly even after flying so high. Qin Yun praised with a smile. Of course, if we were to compete in flying ability, even a martial artist at the 9th level martial body realm might not be able to fly as nimbly as me. Meng Failing was extremely confident as she smiled. Flying in the air was also very risky. If she encountered a powerful magical beast that could fly, it would be very dangerous. After Brother Li obtained the detailed location from Meng Failing, he immediately set off. A moment later, they discovered that the huge armored giant alligator was covered in black steel armor. Its claws were covered in blood, and there were human clothes on the edge of its teeth. It looked like it had just eaten a person and had a full meal. It was swaggering around, breaking through the walls of many houses. This aura is indeed a Class 9 magical beast. I just don't know this guy's attack methods. Brother Li said in a low voice as he looked at the armored giant alligator a few hundred meters away from him from a tall tower. Magical beasts had many methods of attack. Some of them could attack from afar. For example, the demonic wolf from before could spit out purple beams of light from its mouth. After being hit, its body would be torn apart. There should be other magical beasts in the surroundings, but they aren't strong, so they are all hiding in the houses. They are worried that they will be eaten by this Class 9 magical beast. Brother Li said, "Let's wait a moment. We must be careful." He nodded to sister-in-law Li, indicating that she could make her move. Their method of battle was for sister-in-law Li to shoot an arrow from afar. Brother Li and Qin Yun would immediately run over. As they ran, the magical beast would be shot with 1 or 2 arrows. When that time came, it would be much easier for Qin Yun and Brother Li to go to the side of the magical beast. Meng Failing was in charge of staying by sister-in-law Li's side and observing her surroundings. At the same time, she was protecting sister-in-law Li, a godly archer, to prevent her from being attacked. Sister-in-law Li's arrows were not real arrows, and she wasn't worried that they would be blocked by the armored giant alligator's steel armor. The arrows she condensed from the Vajra inner strength had a special kind of power. When they hit the target, they would produce a very violent explosion. If a magical beast was hit in the head, it would feel dizzy from the shock. Bang! The armored giant alligator was hit by 3 arrows in a row and rolled on the ground in pain. Qin Yun and Brotherly arrived in time and gave the giant alligator a good beating. The armored giant alligator's armor was extremely strong, and it was also a Class 9 magical beast. Qin Yun struck the giant alligator's head with the 6th-style forging dragon, but was unable to penetrate the steel armor. Brotherly's 3-sectioned rod struck the steel armor fiercely, creating a burst of sparks. The giant alligator swung its tail vigorously and released a terrifying force. Qin Yun and Brotherly dodged in fear as the force swept through the surrounding buildings like a gust of wind. Boom! 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 Dozens of buildings instantly collapsed as smoke and dust billowed. Qin Yun and Brotherly attacked fiercely from within the smoke and dust. They cooperated with each other. They were secretly anxious because attacking this giant alligator had caused too much of a commotion. Chapter 209. Soul-chasing Talisman Meng failing and sister-in-law Li were extremely anxious because several buildings in that area had collapsed and were shrouded in billowing dust. They were unable to see Qin Yun and Brotherly. Qin Yun sensed the armored giant crocodile in the dust and hurriedly used spirit concentration kill technique to frantically attack the crocodile's head. "This beast's defense is too strong," Brotherly shouted. Through his mental energy, he sensed that the armored giant crocodile did not struggle. He knew that Qin Yun had used a mental energy attack. Then, he combined the 3-section rod into a long rod and fiercely stabbed it into the crocodile's slightly open mouth. After the rod entered the crocodile's body through its mouth, Brotherly circulated his Vajra inner strength and pierced into the crocodile's body through the long rod. Boom! Boom! The giant crocodile felt an excruciating pain as it crazily swung its tail, sweeping out waves of terrifying energy. It shattered the surrounding ruins and created a huge cloud of dust. More houses collapsed. The surrounding 100 meters of houses were all destroyed by the force of the giant crocodile's tail. The scene was extremely shocking. "It's dead," Brotherly said happily. He had stabbed the long rod into the giant crocodile's body and continuously infused it with Vajra inner strength. He had destroyed the crocodile's internal organs from the inside and tracked it down to kill it. The armor of a giant crocodile is very sturdy. It's a good material for artifact forging. Qin Yun placed the entire armored giant crocodile into his storage space before flying out of the billowing dust with Brotherly. Their bodies were also covered in dust, but they were very happy because they had successfully killed a Class 9 magical beast. This gave them a rough understanding of the strength of a Class 9 magical beast. Of course, if they were alone, they wouldn't dare to clash head-on. Even against a Class 8 magical beast, it was extremely dangerous, and there was a high chance that they would lose their lives. Just as Qin Yun and Brotherly flew over, a beam of light suddenly came from afar and landed in the building where Meng Failing and sister-in-law Li were. Boom! A violent explosion rang out, shattering the building and sending rocks flying everywhere. "Wife!" Brotherly was stunned for a moment before he roared angrily. It was Sheng. He had attacked sister-in-law Li like this before. When Qin Yun saw the building being destroyed, he thought that Meng Failing and sister-in-law Li might have died as a result. He was filled with grief and anger. The heavenly lion's arm swelled up, as though it could explode at any moment. Sister Failing, sister-in-law Li. Qin Yun gritted his teeth as he shouted in his heart. His eyes were red. He took a few deep breaths and tried to calm himself down. Then he sped up and flew over, shouting, Brotherly, let's go over first. Maybe they're still alive. Qin Yun entered the dust and quickly sensed two auras of life. He was delighted. After locking onto Meng, Failing, and sister-in-law Li, he used his mental energy to lift them up and quickly move them to his side. He hugged the two girls and quickly flew away. Suddenly, a beam of light came from afar. Boom! Another violent explosion occurred, but Qin Yun has already left. Big Brother Li retreat. When Qin Yun carried Meng, Failing, and sister-in-law Li, he injected vigorous inner force into them to sort out the injuries in their bodies and heal the blocked meridians and blood vessels due to their heavy injuries. Although Brotherly was angry, he also knew that the current situation was very dangerous. Moreover, he did not see where the enemy was. If he rashly went over, he would only lose his life. There was no way for him to take revenge. As Brotherly flew towards Qin Yun, he sent out waves of Vajra inner strength along the way, destroying all the surrounding buildings. As a result, a large amount of smoke and dust appeared. When Qin Yun saw Brotherly enter, he hurriedly brought him into an abandoned restaurant and quickly entered a stone room deep underground. Boom! Boom! Muffled sounds came from above. Insheng and company were constantly bombarding the surrounding buildings because they had lost their target. Qin Yun took out a beast-skin robe and handed it to Brotherly. He said, "This beast-skin robe has light inscriptions engraved on it. It can quickly heal sister-in-law Li's injuries." Brotherly hurriedly helped his unconscious wife put it on. Seeing that his wife's breathing was gradually stabilizing, he heaved a sigh of relief. Qin Yun also put on the light inscription equipment for Meng, Failing. He looked at the seductive beauty in his arms and felt extremely haggard. At the same time, he felt pity for her. He felt even more anger. "Insheng, that bastard, we can't let him off," Qin Yun said angrily. If Insheng had not attacked them first, so many things would not have happened. Seeing the injured and unconscious Meng, Failing, Qin Yun could not suppress the anger in his heart. Brotherly was able to control his emotions because he still had to circulate his energy to heal sister-in-law Li. "Little brother Yun, I'm fine. Don't be angry. It's not good for you." Meng, Failing, slightly opened her beautiful eyes and looked at Qin Yun tenderly as she said softly, I'm not angry anymore. Sister Failing, you have to get better quickly." Qin Yun hugged her tightly and revealed a faint smile. Then, he gently picked up her jade-like hand and placed it on his cheek. Meng, Failing, smiled lightly and closed her eyes, allowing the light inscriptions to heal her injuries. Insheng and a few black-armored men floated in the air. Looking at the collapsed houses on the ground, they said angrily, "They actually ran away. Not a single one of them died." Even if they all died, they wouldn't be able to make up for the 6 of us who died. Generally, if it wasn't for them, none of us would have died that night. Furthermore, we would have been able to obtain a large number of magic cores and the Wolf King's magic core. This is a heavy loss. If we were to hand it over to the Crown Prince, he would be able to exchange it for at least 300 million Xian points in the Lin Xianwu Academy. One of them said, "I know. You guys are in charge of attacking the buildings in this area. They might be hiding somewhere." Insheng became even more furious when he thought of what had happened before. Just as they were about to attack, a beast roar was heard. "General Yin, the magical beasts are here," a burly man said in shock. "It's extremely likely that it's a Class 9 magical beast or a spirit beast. With such a huge commotion here, it will definitely attract many magical beasts. 2 of the fellows from the Star Xianwu Academy are injured. They won't be able to run for long if they are surrounded by magical beasts. All right, then let's quickly retreat." Insheng was also very afraid of death. That night, he had almost been killed by the Wolf King, so he hurriedly flew away from this place. Qin Yun was in the underground wine storage room. He released his mental energy and heard the voices of Insheng and company. Insheng and these fellows are hunting magical beasts for the Crown Prince. They want their Crown Prince to obtain more Xian points in the Lin Xianwu Academy. Qin Yun said with a sneer, The crown prince of this new empire must not be a good person to have such subordinates. It's best if I don't meet him. Qi Yu and Qin Zhengfeng, the two crown princes, had been crippled by him. He was not afraid of any crown prince at all. The healing speed of light inscription equipment was very fast. As long as there was bee skin, Qin Yun could easily refine it. He also took the opportunity to give a set to Brother Li and his wife. Meng Failing's pale face had already returned to its original beautiful and charming appearance. However, she still pretended to be weak and shrunk into Qin Yun's embrace. How could Qin Yun not tell? However, he had no choice but to let this demoness take advantage of him. It was really dangerous just now. When Brotherly saw that his wife had recovered, a smile appeared on his face. Sister-in-law Li smiled lightly. I'm fine. It's a good thing that I have little Yun's light inscription equipment. Otherwise, I don't know when I'll recover. Brotherly said with a smile. Little Yun, this inscription master, is really powerful. Storage spirit artifacts and light inscription healing equipment are all very precious items. Meng Failing smiled and said, That's right. That's why some bastards are always thinking about the precious spirit inscriptions on his body. They won't have a good ending. When I become stronger, I will definitely torture them to death. Brotherly said, Why don't we go back first? We've gained a lot this time. Let's go back and call more people. If we encounter a situation like before, we don't have to worry about anything. Sister-in-law Li and Meng Failing nodded. Qin Yun thought for a moment and said, You guys go back first. I'll stay. Meng Failing hurriedly jumped out of his embrace. No, you have to go back with us. It's too dangerous for you to be outside. Brother Li and his wife hurriedly advised Qin Yun not to take the risk. Don't worry, I only move around at night. At night, I can blend into the darkness. Brotherly should know that. Qin Yun said, Little Yun, what's the reason you stay behind? Brotherly nodded. He did indeed know of Qin Yun's mysterious ability. At that time, he was secretly surprised. Qin Yun said, I want to enter the first district to see if there's anyone inside. I think I should be able to sneak in. If I really can't do it, I will retreat in the second and third district. Meng Failing snorted and secretly pinched Qin Yun's thigh. She said coquettishly, Little brother Yun, you really make people worry. You will make Sister Failing worry to death. Qin Yun gently rubbed her thigh and said with a smile, Don't worry. You all thought I was dead, but didn't I still live? I'm an inscription master, and I've refined many defensive items for myself, such as light inscription equipment. So you can rest assured. Meng Failing could not beat Qin Yun in words, so she could only let him stay. Qin Yun had been investigating the situation above for a full 3 days before the powerful Class 9 magical beasts left. After arriving at the surface, Meng Failing repeatedly warned Qin Yun before reluctantly leaving with Brother Li and his wife, filled with worry. Qin Yun closed his eyes and captured a large amount of Yin Sheng's aura. Then, he absorbed it into his body and condensed it into the power of the blood soul to inscribe a spirit rune on a piece of talisman paper. What he inscribed was called the Soul Chasing Rune. It was a very unique type of spirit rune. As long as he condensed enough of the aura of others into the power of the blood soul, he would be able to create a soul-chasing rune. The soul-chasing rune could track the person who used his aura to condense the power of the blood soul. Qin Yun was not in a hurry to head to the first district. He planned to meet Yin Sheng first. Yin Sheng was a martial artist at the 8th level martial body realm, and he was confident that he could defeat him. Even if he could not kill him, he could at least severely injure him. As long as he's alone, I'll make my move immediately. Qin Yun made up his mind to track Yin Sheng for a period of time until he killed him. He carefully used a carving knife to carve the soul-chasing rune on the talisman paper. There were no records of the soul-chasing rune in many books because it was an extremely rare spirit rune. Even many inscription masters might not have heard of it. Chapter 2:10. On the road alone, Qin Yun quickly finished refining a soul-chasing talisman. After activating it, The soul-chasing talisman overflowed with light and floated up, slowly floating in a certain direction. Over there. After he put away the soul-chasing talisman, he immediately moved and traversed through the ruins. Looks like there aren't many magical beasts in the 4th district. I wonder what's going on in the 3rd district? After Qin Yun ran out of the ruins, he carefully ran on the empty streets. He ran at night and hid in an abandoned house during the day to refine beast skin spirit talismans. The body-securing talisman should be quite useful. I wonder what level of talisman I need to lock down a Class 8 magical beast. Qin Yun was currently making mid-grade beast skin spirit talismans. In order to make the effect of the body-securing talisman better, he drew 2 sets of body-securing runes and 1 set of strength runes on a small piece of beast skin. Looks like I have to start trying to make high-grade spirit inscriptions. Qin Yun created a mid-grade beast skin body securing talisman. He thought that if he wanted to make a high-grade talisman, he would need the beast skin of a Class 9 magical beast. After he finished making the beast skin spirit talisman, he infused his Vajra inner force into it. This method was to make the beast skin spirit talisman reach its best state. When refining the beast skin spirit talisman, he had to deal with the beast skin from the very beginning. The beast skins that Yang Shiryu had helped him with before were all very good. After making it, he would inject the Vajra inner force into the beast skin, allowing the beast skin to accumulate enough energy until it was full. This way, when he activated the talisman, the energy of the spirit inscription would be even stronger. It could be said that the mid-grade beast skin spirit talismans that Qin Yun was currently making were of the best quality. In order to make the beast skin spirit talisman the best quality, Qin Yun needed more than half a day to make one. After all, it was for his own survival. Without the other team members, if he were to face a Class 8 magical beast by himself, it would not be easy for him to deal with it. 5 days passed. Qin Yun traveled at night and entered the 3rd district according to the guidance of the soul-chasing talisman. Yin Sheng is in the 3rd district. This guy should have found quite a few companions. Although Qin Yun did not know much about the 3rd district, he knew that this was the 3rd district when he saw that the houses here were better and the spiritual energy attacks were dense. At night, the first town was enveloped by the faint light of the stars and moon. This did not affect Qin Yun's concealment. Boom! A loud boom suddenly sounded from afar, making Qin Yun secretly delighted. Yin Sheng should be over there. If he is fighting with the magical beasts, I could take advantage of the chaos to attack him. Qin Yun did not discover any magical beasts after entering the 3rd district for half a day. However, the 3rd region was huge, and there would definitely be a group of magical beasts hidden here. Qin Yun carefully approached the area where the battle was taking place. After he went over, he could clearly sense the aura of Yin Sheng's inner force. Other than Yin Sheng, there were 7 other martial artists at the 8th or 9th level of the martial body realm. This Tianling Empire still has some strength, Qin Yun thought to himself. Previously, there was a martial Dao realm cultivator. There were also a few at the 9th level martial body realm and quite a few at the 8th level. He could indeed claim to be an empire. However, their luck was not very good. When they became an empire, a horde of magical beasts came. The Tianling Empire must have taken advantage of the invasion of the magical beasts to annex a few other small countries. They have the support of the Lin Xianwu Academy, so the other small countries joined them. Qin Yun approached the area where the intense battle was taking place. Yin Sheng and company were dealing with a small horde of magical beasts. There were more than 10 Class 8 or 9 magical beasts in this horde. They all had mouths full of sharp teeth and were 3 to 4 meters long golden bulls. It was obvious that they were carnivorous magical beasts. Could it be that the magical beast squad that came out to patrol was ambushed by Yin Sheng and company? Qin Yun hid in the darkness and slowly approached an 8th level martial body warrior. The battle here was extremely intense, and the aura was very chaotic. Martial artists who were focused on fighting were unable to discover Qin Yun, who had merged with the darkness. Qin Yun took out a mid-grade beast skin body securing talisman and threw it at a middle-aged man at the 8th level martial body realm. After the body securing talisman was activated, a transparent and colorless energy emerged and enveloped the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man was immediately unable to move as his face was filled with fear. Roar! A golden bull let out a tiger-like roar as it charged over. Its horns pierced into the middle-aged man's body before tearing at his flesh. At this moment, Qin Yin took out a saber and used the spirit concentration kill on the golden bull that was eating meat. Then, he used the 6-style Wind Slayer to kill the golden bull. Got it! Qin Yin was secretly delighted when he successfully killed a Class 8 magical beast. Following that, he used the same method to deal with Yin Sheng's other accomplices. He killed 4 people in a row. In addition to the magical cow from before, he obtained a total of 3 Class 8 magical cows and a Class 9 magical cow. Let's retreat. An old man at the 9th level martial body realm roared. Yin Sheng also felt that something was amiss because they had originally suppressed the herd of magical cows, but now they had lost 4 people. If this continued, they would definitely be wiped out. Qin Yin quietly hid in the darkness. When he saw the herd of magical cows chasing after Yin Sheng, he quietly followed them. After chasing Yin Sheng and company for more than 2 hours, the magical cows finally stopped. There were still 10 magical cows here. One of them was a Class 9 magical cow, and the other 9 were Class 8. Qin Yin also stopped and hid near the magical cows. He was conflicted as to whether he should give it a try and kill the group of magical cows. This was because the group of magical cows were more or less injured, especially the Class 9 magical cow. The injuries on its body were shocking. If Brother Li and the others were here, they would have been able to easily succeed. Qin Yin gritted his teeth. He did not know if he could deal with so many magical cows. He counted the number of body-securing talismans he had. There were a total of 12 of them. Throw out 10 of them at once and freeze all the demonic cows. Then, depending on the situation, if I can't stop most of the magical cows, I can only give up. The magical cows were all gathered together and did not separate. He took a few deep breaths and threw out 10 body-securing talismans, enveloping the herd of magical cows. After the body securing talismans exploded, all the magical cows immediately discovered it. They wanted to move, but they couldn't. They were frozen by a strange power. Even the Class 9 magical cow was unable to move. Sure enough, it's just as I expected. The magical cows are all injured and their strength has been greatly reduced. They can't break free from the power of the body, securing talisman in an instant. Qin Yin took out the giant king spirit hammer and rushed out. He circulated the inner energy of the nether sun, vibration, and the heavenly lion's arms thunder and fire, condensing them into a Vajra inner force that poured into the giant king spirit hammer. After absorbing the Vajra inner force, the alchemy and berserk runes within the giant king spirit hammer became even more berserk. It howled out with a deep, vibrating roar. 5th style of Forging Dragon, Falling Star. Qin Yin smashed down on the head of the Class 9 magical cow with great force. With a boom, a raging thunder fire immediately burst out and pierced through the cow's head. The Class 9 magical cow was killed with a single hammer strike. Qin Yin took advantage of this momentum and smashed down on the heads of the other magical cows. Using the Falling Star style, he smashed a cow's head with a single hammer strike. The power of every hammer strike shook the earth, tearing cracks in the ground. All of the magical cows fell to the ground and died. Qin Yin panted heavily as he felt incomparably excited. I've killed these magical cows. He looked at the giant king spirit hammer in his hand and still found it hard to believe. Although he did not use all of his inner force, he was extremely nervous just now and had used all of his strength to the extreme. After Qin Yin put away the corpse of the magical cow, he hurriedly found a place to recover the inner force that he had expended. The magical cow he had hunted was worth more than 20 million Xian points. Right now, the magic cores in his hands could be exchanged for about 80 million Xian points. After he rested, It was already dawn. He continued refining the body, securing talisman. It's good to be an inscription master. Qin Yun recalled the effects of the body securing talisman on the magical cow and could not help but sigh with emotion. As long as a Class 8 magical beast was immobilized by his body securing talisman, it would basically be unable to move. If I meet a Class 9 magical beast in an extremely good condition, my body securing talisman won't be of much use. I can only deal with those who are injured. Qin Yin was even more eager to refine a high-grade body securing talisman. However, he did not have the rank 9 demonic beast skin. Let's try using the magical beast skin. Qin Yin took out the hide of a Class 9 magical cow. The cowhide was golden and as thick as a brick. It was also extremely tough. It felt like a stiff stone when pinched. Qin Yun used the giant king spirit hammer to hammer the thick demonic cow skin. Through the heat emitted by the alchemy inscriptions, he refined it into a thin sheet before using the Vajra inner force to process it. Sure, magical beast skin is the same as demonic beast skin. Great! Qin Yun could not help but laugh. In the future, there would definitely be a lot of such magical beast skins. It would be easy to purchase them. After refining it, it would be a very precious and useful beast skin talisman. To refine a high-grade spirit talisman, one needed to carve even more spear inscriptions. Moreover, one also needed to carve origin-gathering runes inside the talisman to store a large amount of energy. Only then would the power of the spirit inscriptions be stronger. Right now, he needed to carve 2 sets of body, securing runes on both sides of the beast skin. He also needed to use an extremely strong mind to carve origin-gathering runes and a set of body securing talismans on the inside of the beast skin. When he was forging the giant king spirit hammer, he had also inscribed spirit inscriptions on the inside of the material, so he had a certain amount of experience in this area. It was not difficult for him. The main thing was that it was difficult to inscribe so many spirit inscriptions in such a small area without interfering with each other. In order to refine a high-grade body securing talisman, he had spent an entire day and night. It's indeed difficult to refine. After Qin Yin succeeded, he was already very tired. Originally, in such an environment, one needed to preserve a certain amount of inner force to prevent other sudden situations. As for Qin Yun, he had been too engrossed in it. He had expended all of his inner force in one go in order to refine a high-grade body, securing talisman. He lay on the ground, secretly blaming himself. He shouldn't have been so willful. Fortunately, there were no sudden situations. He rested for more than 2 hours before recovering. Then, taking advantage of the darkness, he continued to track Yin Sheng. Yin Sheng, sooner or later, you will die in my hands. Qin Yun's body overflowed with shadow power as he very naturally fused with the darkness. Through the soul-chasing talisman, he continued to track Yin Sheng. On the way, he also discovered several powerful beast hordes. Fortunately, he was not discovered by those magical beasts. Facing a powerful horde of magical beasts, not to mention him alone, even a martial Dao realm cultivator might not dare to go up. Magical beasts indeed eat humans as their staple food. Sometimes they also eat their own kind. Therefore, magical beasts are also on guard against each other. Chapter 211. Tianling Empire. Ever since Qin Yun entered the 3rd region, he would hear the roars of beasts coming from the distance from time to time. He raised his vigilance to the highest. If he sensed the aura of a magical beast, he would be able to quickly respond. Is there something wrong with the soul-chasing talisman? The direction that was directed to me was towards the 2nd division. Could Yin Sheng be in the 2nd division? Qin Yun looked at the soul-chasing talisman that was slowly drifting into the depths of the 1st town. He hesitated over whether he should continue pursuing it. If it's nighttime, I definitely won't be discovered by magical beasts if I use shadow power. Even if there are many powerful magical beasts in the 2nd region, I can still hide and not be discovered. I can enter without worry. Finally, Qin Yun made the decision to head to the second zone. In the middle of the night, he hid in the darkness and ran toward the second zone. Originally, he had wanted to enter the second region to take a look. However, when he came to the third region, he encountered many powerful magical beasts. Because the magical beasts in the third region were generally stronger, he hesitated to enter for the time being. Now that he knew Yin Sheng was in the second division, he had no choice but to go. As the sky brightened, Qin Yun released his mental energy and sensed the aura of a magical beast nearby. It belonged to a spirit beast. I have to get away from this magical beast horde as soon as possible. He hurriedly took a detour and left. When the sky was completely bright, he found a basement and hid in it. After all, he was only at the 7th level martial body realm. In broad daylight, he was unable to use the power of shadow. If he was discovered by a magical beast, it would be extremely dangerous. Therefore, he had to hide during the day. Most of the buildings here had a very deep basement for storing food and alcohol. It was easy for him to find a basement to hide in. During the day, Qin Yun hid in the basement and used his free time to craft talismans. The talismans he was currently crafting were all high-grade beast-hide talismans. Only talismans of this level could possibly deal with 9th-grade magical beasts. Making a high-grade beast skin talisman takes a long time and consumes a lot of energy. After crafting talismans for half a day, Qin Yun suddenly felt a faint tremor. He didn't mind and continued crafting talismans. No matter how big the commotion outside was, it was still broad daylight, and it would be very dangerous to go out. During the day, Qin Yun could not completely conceal his aura. If he encountered a magical beast with strong perception, he would easily lose his life. After Qin Yun finished crafting the high-grade body securing talisman, it was already nighttime. From the day until now, that weak tremor came intermittently. Especially now, the tremors were slightly stronger than before. There should be a huge battle in the distance. It actually lasted for such a long time. Could it be that two groups of magical beasts are fighting? Qin Yun checked the beast skin body securing talisman, and after confirming that there were no problems, he put it away. He took out the soul-chasing talisman, confirmed Yin Sheng's location, and immediately set off. In the pitch-black night, Qin Yun was like a fairy in the night. He was like the embodiment of darkness. He perfectly hid in the darkness as he ran. Strange, I feel that the earthquake is getting stronger and stronger. Could it be that I'm approaching the location of a great battle? Qin Yun looked at the churning clouds in the sky and felt the blowing wind. He secretly felt that Yin Sheng and company were likely fighting the beast horde. His heart was filled with suspicions and a trace of anticipation. He sped up and sprinted on the ground. About 4 hours later, he heard a series of beast roars coming from ahead, so he hurriedly took out the soul-chasing talisman. When he saw the soul-chasing talisman glowing brightly, he was secretly delighted. As expected, Yin Sheng is right in front. Qin Yun put away the soul-chasing talisman and slowed down. He raised his vigilance as he approached the battlefield ahead. As he approached, waves of sand and dust blew over, accompanied by thick smoke and fog, as well as an extremely strong aura of magical beasts. In front of him, in the middle of the thick sand and dust, there would be flashing lights from time to time. It was the internal force energy that erupted during the battle. It's a martial Dao realm cultivator, and there's more than one of them. Qin Yun was secretly alarmed. He never expected Yin Sheng to be together with so many martial Dao realm cultivators. He also understood why Yin Sheng dared to move in the third region. Qin Yun slowed down and took out the soul-chasing talisman. He once again confirmed Yin Sheng's location. After confirming it, he increased his speed and carefully ran over. Soon, he entered the intense battlefield area. Sand and dust filled the sky, and rocks flew everywhere. The battle situation was extremely intense. Because in the dark night, coupled with the tyrannical auras, Qin Yun could hide better. There are at least 3 martial Dao realm cultivators in their team. They should be dealing with a spirit beast. Otherwise, the commotion wouldn't be so big. Qin Yin pondered as he released his mental energy to identify Yin Sheng's aura. Very quickly, he confirmed Yin Sheng's location. Yin Sheng and a few other 8th or 9th level martial body cultivators were fighting with a few dog-shaped magical beasts. Those dog-shaped magical beasts were 2 to 3 meters long and covered in leather armor. They had a few meter-long barbed tail that could be extended and retracted freely, nimbly lashing out. Suddenly, a dog-shaped magical beast swung its huge tail and shot out a large number of spikes. The spikes seemed to contain energy. After they were shot out, they emitted a series of explosions. Boom! Boom! In the blink of an eye, several nearby buildings collapsed, kicking up a cloud of dust. Yin Sheng threw out a few storm talismans, quickly blowing away the dust. Then, a dog-shaped magical beast bared its sharp teeth and charged forward ferociously. Qin Yin tightly gripped a body, securing talisman, but he did not make a move. He was not confident that he would succeed. Furthermore, he was worried that Yin Sheng's companions would discover him. The dog-shaped magical beasts were all Class 9 magical beasts. Their sense of smell was extremely sharp. If they were to be targeted, it would not be a good thing. Right now, he had to find a good opportunity to make a move. He could only continue to observe. Qin Yin, who was carefully observing, suddenly sensed someone approaching. He was secretly alarmed as he looked in the direction of the aura. He saw a young man wearing silver armor. Qin Yin could use the power of shadows to hide himself in the darkness. However, it seemed that he had been discovered. This was also the reason why he was alarmed. The silver-armored man was in his 20s and had a cultivation at the 7th level martial body realm. There was only one reason why he could appear here. He was in the same team as Yin Sheng and company, and his status was not low either. Ghost Beast. After the silver-armored man finished speaking, he threw out a pale golden net that enveloped Qin Yin. Qin Yin was alarmed. He never expected that the silver-armored man would actually discover him. Furthermore, the net that was thrown over was also a very good spirit artifact. Although he dodged at the first moment, the net was too strange. It did not look big, but when it pressed down, it suddenly became very big. Furthermore, it released the power of a barrier. Qin Yin instantly ran 100 meters, but he was still enveloped. After he was trapped, the net gradually shrank, and it even shot out bolts of lightning. Generally, I've caught a fish, huh? The silver-armored youth laughed. Crown Prince, why did you come out? This is too dangerous. Yin Sheng's face was filled with anxiety as he hurriedly flew over and shouted, I'll take you far away from this place. The silver-armored youth was the crown prince of the Tianling Empire, Ling Yuan. Ling Yuan's arrogant face was filled with displeasure. He grabbed the net and brought Qin Yin along with him as he followed Yin Sheng far away from the battlefield. After Qin Yin was caught in the net, he was attacked by the electric current released by the net. Fortunately, his nether sun inner Yuan released a type of decomposition energy that disintegrated the lightning and weakened the power of the lightning. After Yin Sheng brought Ling Yuan far away from the battlefield, he warned, Crown Prince, we promised the Emperor that we would bring you here, but you have to cooperate with us. It's safest to stay far away from the battlefield. If anything goes wrong, we will all be punished. Ling Yuan threw the person in his hand onto the ground and said with a complacent smile, Look, what did I catch? It looks like it's a person. After Qin Yin was caught, the shadow force disappeared and he was exposed. When Yin Sheng saw Qin Yin's face, his face was immediately filled with shock. Following that, his face was filled with anger as he shouted, It's actually this guy. It's them who caused us to be attacked by the wolves and lose many martial artists. With that, Yin Sheng kicked Qin Yin vigorously and praised, Crown Prince is truly amazing. You actually caught the bastard we've been searching for a long time. Ling Yuan carefully looked at Qin Yin's face and said in surprise, He's Qin Yin. I've seen his portrait before. This person is Qin Yin. Yin Sheng was taken aback. He never expected that the famous Qin Yin would be right in front of him. Good, that's great, haha. Ling Yuan laughed out loud. As long as I kill Qin Yin, I will be able to become famous. For the sake of our Tianling Empire, this trip has not been in vain. When Yin Sheng heard this, he also laughed out loud. Then he kicked Qin Yun and shouted, "What are you looking at? The crown prince of our Tianling Empire is the grandson of the Lin Xian Wu Academy's principal. He is destined to become a saint of the Blue Spirit sect and is much stronger than you." Qin Yun looked at Yin Sheng with eyes filled with killing intent. It was this fellow who had nearly killed Meng Feiling and sister-in-law Li. When he thought of Meng Feiling's injured and weak appearance, the anger in his heart surged. "Ha ha! The strongest crown prince? And you even married Xiao Yuan? Now that you've fallen into my hands, you're nothing." Ling Yuan laughed as he kicked Qin Yun ruthlessly. Trampling on a famous genius gave Ling Yuan an incomparable sense of superiority. The more he fought, the more excited he became. "Don't be complacent." Qin Yun roared angrily as he threw out a fire talisman, igniting it into raging flames. "Ha ha! Your tattered fire talisman can't even burn my high-grade spirit weapon." Ling Yuan laughed loudly as he extinguished the flames with a palm strike. Yin Sheng watched from the side, and from time to time, he would laugh and kick Qin Yun. Qin Yun endured the kicks and focused as he looked at the spirit essence saber that had fallen into the distance. The saber had been released from Annette when he activated the fire talisman. "The crown prince of the Tianling Empire? If you go against me, your fate will be the same as Qi Yu and Qin Zhengfeng." Qin Yun looked at Ling Yuan's sinister face and gritted his teeth. He used the Imperial Spirit technique and controlled the saber to fly over with all his might. The saber spun rapidly. Yin Sheng also noticed it, but it was too late. The spirit essence saber that flew over swept past Ling Yuan's neck and beheaded him. When Yin Sheng saw the head on the ground, his legs immediately went limp and he almost fell to the ground. The crown prince of their Tianling Empire was dead. Ling Yuan himself had a very strong perception, so he could sense Qin Yun, who was using the power of shadow. However, he had been too engrossed in beating up Qin Yun. Furthermore, with Yin Sheng by his side, he had relaxed his vigilance and did not notice the saber flying at him from behind. Chapter 212. Royal Spirit Canon Yin Sheng felt that his body was unable to move. He suddenly recalled that Qin Yun was an inscription master and had mastered many high-grade spear inscriptions. He was currently under the power of the body, securing talisman. When he saw that Crown Prince Ling Yuan's head had been separated from his body and he could not move, he cried out involuntarily, "Don't kill me." Qin Yun looked at the despairing Yin Sheng and sneered. "You try to kill us time and time again. I was almost killed by you just now. How can I let you go?" With that, the spirit essence saber flew over and killed Yin Sheng. Qin Yun removed the storage spirit artifact from Yin Sheng and Ling Yuan's bodies and took out a few fire talismans. He threw them at the two corpses and hurriedly left the scene. Not long after he left, an old man of the martial Dao realm came over and extinguished the flames. When he saw Yin Sheng and Ling Yuan's corpses, he roared in anger. Qin Yun quickly distanced himself from the intense battlefield, but he still heard angry roars from afar. He heaved a sigh of relief and thought to himself, "Luckily I ran fast." The sky was about to brighten. Qin Yun ran for several hours before entering the second district of the first town. Upon entering the second district, he could sense that the atmosphere here was very terrifying. From time to time, the aura of a spirit beast would surge over. The most terrifying thing was that there would occasionally be flying magical beasts flying across the sky. Before daybreak, Qin Yun entered a collapsed stone building and hid in the basement. The second district is terrifying. There are more and more magical beasts. I wonder if there are any humans in this area. Qin Yun closed his eyes and absorbed the Nine Suns' spiritual energy to nourish his inner Yuan and recover his energy. The spiritual energy in the second district was very dense, so there were many powerful warriors gathered in the first and second districts. It was said that there were also quite a few in the martial Dao realm. The first town was not bound by the empires. it could be seen that it was not that simple. One had to know that many of the famous families in the empire had great enemies hiding in the first town. However, none of these martial arts families dared to take revenge in the first town. Brotherly said before that some people offended the Blue Spirit Star Palace and hid here. Even the Blue Spirit Star Palace couldn't do anything to the first town. Qin Yin suddenly felt that the first town was not that simple, especially the first district in the center. It seemed to be hiding something. After resting, he took out Yin Sheng and Ling Yuan's storage bags. These two storage bags didn't have any blood contract inscriptions, so other people could take the items inside as they pleased. There are quite a few Class 8 and 9 magic crystal cores. In total, they can be exchanged for more than 100 million Xian points. It should be their harvest from the first town. Qin Yin looked at the magic cores in the storage bag and secretly rejoiced. With the magic cores he had on him, he could exchange for 150 million magic cores. He was still short of 50 million magic cores to exchange for a bottle of Vajra spirit essence. He took out his tools and began to craft talismans. The high-grade body-securing talisman he had used previously had a remarkable effect. It was not a problem to deal with a martial artist at the 8th level martial body realm. Now, he was in the second district, where many magical beasts roamed freely, but he did not have the upper-grade spiritual talisman with him, which made him feel insecure. At this moment, he had no choice but to hastily create a high-grade spirit talisman. At the very least, it can be of some use at critical times. Qin Yin was in a hurry to obtain the magic cores to exchange for Xian points. That was why he wanted to enter the depths of the first town. He still did not know the situation in the second and first districts, but he wanted to come in and take a look. He wanted to figure out the situation first and make sufficient preparations next time before coming in. It would be more convenient. After an entire day, Qin Yin finally finished crafting a high-grade beast skin talisman. However, just as he was resting, he suddenly sensed a faint movement outside the basement door. What's outside? Could it be that a magical beast has found me? After Qin Yin recovered from his surprise, he released a surge of mental energy to investigate what was outside the door. Someone's outside. He felt that this was even more frightening than magical beasts. Sometimes, humans were much more terrifying than magical beasts. For example, people like Yin Sheng. Dong, dong, dong. The person outside the stone door of the basement knocked hard on the stone door. Qin Yin gripped a body, securing talisman tightly, as he anxiously thought of a solution. The person outside the door had the aura of a 9th level martial body. Even with the body securing talisman, it was not easy to deal with him. Is there anyone inside? I have no ill intentions. We are a team that hunts magical beasts, and the others are outside. When we passed by this place, we found out that there were people below, so we came to take a look. We are missing a team member, so we sincerely invite you to join our team. The voice outside the door was neither fast nor slow. It sounded like the voice of a very benevolent old man. How can I trust you? Qin Yin gritted his teeth and asked in a deep voice. His voice was filled with vigilance. I have a cultivation at the peak of the 9th level martial body. If I really have any ill intentions towards you, do you think this stone door can stop me? The voice laughed. He knocked on the door, and his attitude could be heard from his tone. Qin Yin was on guard as he used his mental energy to open the stone door and maintain a distance from the door. After the stone door opened, a skinny old man in a white robe stood there with his hands behind his back and a smile on his face. Young man, your mental strength seems to be pretty good. Hello, I am Old Tan. The old man walked over and cupped his hands at Qin Yin. I am Yun. Qin Yin did not say his name as he continued to guard against the other party. Old Tan could also tell that Qin Yin was wary of him. He smiled and said to Qin Yin, I just told you my intentions outside the door. Now, let me tell you the details of the situation. Our team originally had 5 people, but one of them suddenly quit, bringing a very troublesome problem to our team, causing us to be unable to cooperate. When he saw that Qin Yin was listening carefully, he said, Our team is all at the 9th level martial body realm. I wonder what cultivation level little brother is at. This was the second region. Without a certain level of strength, one would not dare to barge in alone. Therefore, Old Tan did not underestimate the youth in front of him at all. 7th level martial body. Qin Yun said, I've been separated from my team. Old Tan nodded and did not say another word. He was considering whether or not to let Qin Yun join their team. Qin Yun was only at the 7th level martial body realm, while Old Tan's team was at the 9th level martial body realm. The difference was quite large. After careful consideration, Old Tan said, Can we wait here? I'll go up and discuss it with my companions. It's not that I look down on you, but with your cultivation, joining our team will be dangerous. You should be aware of this yourself. Qin Yun felt that if the other party was not bad, there would be no problem in joining them. He would be able to understand a little more about the situation here. When he saw Old Tan walk out the stone door, he hurriedly chased after him and said, Old Tan, I'll go up with you. In this underground stone room, it was not convenient to escape. If they went up, it would be different. All right. Old Tan smiled and quickly walked up. Walking out of the basement, they arrived at the first floor of the collapsed stone building. Although the top had collapsed, the hall on the first floor was not covered by the boulders. When Qin Yun went up, he saw two middle-aged men and a tall and thin old man. They were dressed in the same white robes as Old Tan. The two middle-aged men looked somewhat similar. They both had thick eyebrows and big eyes. They looked valiant and burly. They should be brothers. The thin old man's brows were somewhat similar to those of the two big men. With a single glance, one could tell that he was the father of the two middle-aged men. Old Tan briefly explained Qin Yun's situation to the father and son trio, and they all nodded. After the discussion, Old Tan revealed a satisfied smile. He walked to Qin Yun's side and said with a smile, Yun, this is Elder Zhou. Those two are his sons, Zhou De and Tuesday. They are all at the 9th level martial body realm, and Elder Zhou is very close to the martial Dao realm. He is the strongest among the four of us. Are you willing to join our team? All right, I'll join. Qin Yun could only make such a decision for now. This was also a good opportunity. Old Tan's team of four was very strong. If they wanted to deal with him, they would have done so a long time ago. They would not have spoken so calmly. I am Yun. Qin Yun walked over and cupped his hands at the Zhou father and son. Elder Zhou, Big Brother Zhou, Second Brother Zhou, hello. Please take care of me. Elder Zhou smiled. If you join us, you will be our companion. Of course we will take care of you. Zhou De also smiled and said, Young man, don't worry. Although our team does not have a martial Dao realm cultivator, we have killed a spirit beast before. Tuesday smiled and said, Yun, your luck is not bad. To be able to meet our team, as long as you follow us, you will definitely reap great rewards. With just the four of them, they were able to kill a spirit beast. This kind of strength was indeed very strong. Qin Yun nodded and took out some food to share with them. Old Tan and the Zhou father and son were not wary of Qin Yun. They were all at the 9th level martial body realm, so there was no need for them to be afraid of a youth at the 7th level. When they saw that Qin Yun had a storage spirit artifact, they secretly suspected his identity, but they did not ask. Here, everyone had a tacit understanding not to say their names. The people in the first town had always concealed their identities like this. Seniors, you are all at the 9th level martial body realm. Why did you let me, 7th level martial body, join? Aren't you afraid that I will drag you down? Qin Yun was very puzzled by this. When he saw that Old Tan and company were straightforward people, he boldly asked. Old Tan and Old Zhou could not help but laugh. Elder Zhou smiled and said, Yun, if you join us, you will have to take on a very difficult task. But don't worry, it's not something dangerous. With that, he gave Old Tan a meaningful glance. Old Tan took out a cylindrical object that was more than a meter long. It was hollow inside and completely black. There were golden rings at both ends of the cylinder. The outside of the cylinder was engraved with spirit marks, and the hollow inside could fit a large fist. There were also spirit marks on the walls of the cylinder. When Qin Yun saw it, he knew that it was an extraordinary spirit artifact. He could not help but reveal a look of shock as he said, This is at least a royal-grade spirit artifact, right? Elder Zhou was slightly surprised and said with a smile, Good eyesight. This is indeed a royal-grade spirit artifact. It's called the Royal Spirit Cannon. The cannonball is filled with Class 9 magic cores. Once it is fired, it can cause great damage to spirit beasts. Chapter 213. Bombardment. Qin Yin listened with a face full of surprise. Such a powerful thing was actually given to him to use. Old Tan handed the Royal Spirit Cannon to Qin Yun and said, "Carry it on your shoulder and inject your mental power into it. Try to see if you can control it." Qin Yun placed the Royal Spirit Cannon on his shoulder and injected his mental energy into it. The barrel began to tremble slightly. He had successfully established a connection with the Royal Spirit Cannon. His spiritual force was inside the Royal Spirit Cannon, so he could clearly see things in the distance through the muzzle. As long as he used his spiritual force to control the muzzle and aim, he would be able to hit his target. Old Tan and Old Zhou revealed satisfied smiles. "Not bad. You can control it very easily. It seems like your mental strength is much stronger than we thought." Old Tan said with a smile, "Because artillery shells are very expensive, we can't let you try them now. When we find the target, it will be time for you to show off your skills." Without Qin Yun, one of the four of them would have to hide in the distance and use the Royal Spirit Cannon. The other three would either provide cover or distract the demonic beasts. With Qin Yun controlling the Royal Spirit Cannon from afar, the four of them could deal with the magical beast together. In a critical moment, an additional 9th-level martial body cultivator on the battlefield would be of great use. This was also the reason why they allowed Qin Yun to join. Qin Yun returned the Royal Spirit Cannon to Old Tan. No one would easily hand such a precious item over to him for safekeeping. He couldn't wait to give it a try. He said with a smile, "Old Tan, have you found your target?" "Not yet, but don't worry. We have many targets in Division 2. Elder Zhou replied with a smile. "Let's go. We're going to look for prey now. We're going to do something big." When Old Tan saw that Qin Yun's mental strength was very strong, he was very happy. This caused the overall strength of their team to increase by a lot. Qin Yun followed them outside and looked up at the 9 suns in the sky. He sensed an even denser spiritual energy. This was the first time he had wandered outside in broad daylight. He followed behind a few seniors and carefully ran. He asked, "Old Tan, are there many people in the 2nd district? Many teams are hiding, and it's hard to see them. There are quite a lot of people in the 2nd zone, but it's not easy to find a suitable teammate. After all, this is the 2nd district where fish and dragons are mixed together. If someone with bad intentions were to join the team, it would be a disaster for us." Old Tan said. Qin Yun was only at the 7th level martial body realm. He was the only one here. Furthermore, he was not from the 1st town, so Old Tan and the others were very at ease. The magical beasts in the 2nd district aren't too strong. The ones in the 1st district are terrifying. Almost every magical beast horde there has at least 2 spirit beasts. Only a small team of martial Dao realm cultivators would dare to walk there. Zhou sighed. Qin Yun was curious as he asked, "Why are the magical beasts gathered in these 2 places?" Old Tan suddenly stopped and asked Old Zhou to check on the situation around them. They all ran and stopped like this. On one hand, they could rest and adjust their condition, and on the other hand, they could avoid being ambushed by magical beasts. After Old Tan made the arrangements, he said, "The magical beasts killed many people in the 3rd and 4th districts. They store a large number of corpses and move them to the 1st and 2nd districts. In addition, there is a river between the 2nd and 1st districts. The source of this river is in the center of the 1st district. The water that overflows from the depths is very helpful to the growth of magical beasts." Qin Yun asked, "In that case, the place with the river is the most dangerous?" Old Tan nodded. By the river, there are many powerful magical beasts stationed there. Of course, there are also human groups that have built shelters together. When martial Dao realm and martial body 9th level martial artists join forces, they are still very powerful. Zhou said, "Fortunately, the source of the 1st district is occupied by humans. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Big Brother Zhou, have you been to the first district? The magical beasts in the first district must be very terrifying. I never thought that humans would be able to resist those powerful magical beasts. Qin was very surprised. He had thought that the magical beasts had already dominated the first town. Zhou laughed and said, I've never been there, but I've been in the first town for many years. I also know that there are many powerful martial artists hidden in the first district. The source is also the place where they obtained great power, so they will definitely protect it with their lives. Old man Zhou returned with a look of pleasant surprise and worry on his face. He said, Nearby, there is a group of defeated magical beasts. There are a total of 30 magical beasts. 5 of them are Class 9 magical beasts, and 1 is a spirit magical beast. What kind of magical beasts are they? Old Tan frowned slightly as he considered whether or not he should take action. Old man Zhou said, Horse wolf. Its body is like a strong horse. It has a large wolf head, and its 4 limbs are also very sharp wolf claws. Following that, he took out a piece of paper and drew the magical beasts. Their eyes are especially large, and their heads are strong. Normally, these magical beasts release energy from their mouths and eyes to attack. Old Tan analyzed the magical beast. Old man Zhou said, The 5 Class 9 magical beasts are not easy to deal with, and the other small Class 7 and 8 magical beasts are also very troublesome. However, considering that the magical beasts were defeated and fled, they are more or less injured. Old Tan was the captain, so it was up to him to decide whether or not to make a move. Take it. Attack according to the situation. You don't have to attack the spirit beast. You have to first ensure our safety on the battlefield. For example, if one of us makes a mistake and is about to be hit by a Class 9 magical beast, then you can attack the Class 9 magical beast. Old Tan took out the royal spirit cannon and handed it to Qin Yun. He also gave Qin Yun 3 large white beads. Qin Yun poured 3 cannonballs into the barrel. He could control how many cannonballs he fired. If he were to hit a spirit beast, he would need 2 to be able to heavily injure it. Try your best to aim. A cannonball is worth 10 million crystal coins. Old Tan patted Qin Yun on the shoulder and said with a smile, Have some confidence in yourself. You will definitely be able to use the royal spirit cannon very well. Qin Yun nodded. If it was more than 1,000 meters, the royal spirit cannon would not be able to hit accurately. Qin Yun followed them over. After entering the range of 1,000 meters, he climbed to the top of a dilapidated building and hid himself. He carried the royal spirit cannon on his shoulder and infused his mental energy into it. He could clearly see a group of horse wolves resting on the ground in the ruins 800 to 900 meters away. There were a few horse wolves that were tearing at the bodies of humans. It was unknown where they had hunted the humans. Old man Zhou was the fastest, so he rushed to the front. With 2 axes in his hands, he suddenly appeared in the middle of the pack of horse wolves and fiercely slashed at a few Class 8 magical beasts. Zhou and Tuesday also arrived. Their spirit artifacts were 2-meter-long heavy sabers. The large sabers looked cumbersome, but when they danced in their hands, they were like floating clouds and flowing water. They killed several 8th-rank magical beasts in a few moves. The Zhou father and son trio went over and took care of the Class 7 and 8 magical beasts. The few Class 9 magical beasts were all injured. When they saw humans attacking, they counterattacked. Last time, Old Tan had charged over. The spirit artifact in Old Tan's hand was a large scimitar. He charged towards the horde of magical beasts and attacked the Class 9 magical beasts. He released the scimitar in his hand, and it flew towards the few Class 9 magical beasts. The magical beast let out an angry roar as a large amount of energy surged out of its mouth and opened the scimitar. When the scimitar returned to Old Tan's hand, the Zhou father and son had already rushed over. Suddenly, an extremely strong aura appeared, accompanied by a gust of wind, blowing up a large amount of rubble. It was the aura of a spirit beast. Qin Yun carried the royal spirit cannon on his shoulder and used his mental energy to lock onto the spirit beast. "Watch me." With a thought from Qin Yun, the two cannonballs in the barrel flew out. In the blink of an eye, they landed on the spirit beast that was more than 900 meters away. That spirit beast was also a magical beast, and it was even larger. Boom! After the cannonball passed, it accurately landed on the body of the wolf, sending it flying and crashing into a huge building. Walala! The wolf was struck by the royal spirit cannon, and a large hole was blasted open in its body. Flesh and blood rained down. Qin Yun's heart skipped a beat when he saw this. The power of the royal spirit cannon far exceeded his imagination. The leader of the horde of wolves had been killed. This made Old Tan and company extremely happy. They did not need to worry about the threat of spirit beasts and could fight freely. Qin Yun watched their battle from afar and revealed a relaxed smile on his face. The magical beasts fell one by one. Their 5-man team had killed a magical beast horde with a spirit beast. Qin Yun immediately ran over and said with a smile, "The power of the royal spirit cannon is truly terrifying. If a martial Dao realm cultivator were to be hit twice, they would either die or be injured." Old Tan took the royal spirit cannon from Qin Yun and said with a hearty laugh, "Of course, this thing is my ancestral treasure. In order to protect this thing from others, I offended many powers and had no choice but to hide in the first town." It was extremely risky for him to give such a precious item to Qin Yun. It was also because Qin Yun only had a cultivation at the 7th level martial body realm that they could catch up to him in time, even if he wanted to run. Qin Yun really wanted this kind of spirit artifact. However, it was not easy to refine. For a royal grade spirit artifact like this, it required a blueprint, and the materials required were also very special. After counting the spoils of war, everyone divided it equally. The 5 Class 9 magic cores that Qin Yun had obtained could be exchanged for 25 million Xian points. As for the crystal cores that they had obtained from the horde of magical beasts, if they were to be exchanged for Xian points, it would be more than 130 million. It could be said that it was not bad for him to be able to get so much. After all, he did not do much. After a period of rest, they recovered their strength and continued on their way to search for a horde of magical beasts. In 2 or 3 days, they encountered a few magical beast hordes. As they were all large magical beast hordes that numbered more than 100, Old Tan did not attack. If they weren't sure, they wouldn't make a move. If they could not take down the entire horde of magical beasts, it would mean failure. Even if there were no casualties, they would still lose precious artillery shells. In the evening, Old Tan led the team into an abandoned 7-story stone tower and rested on the highest floor. It's not easy to find prey. We have to be patient. Old Tan stood by the window and said as he looked at the 9 suns that had set. Qin Yun was rather patient. It was very safe to be with Old Tan and company. Once he encountered suitable prey, he would be able to obtain quite a bit of spoils of war without putting in much effort. Chapter 214. Magical Beast Crystal Egg. Although magical beasts were powerful, they weren't dangerous enough. They were relatively easy to deal with. However, a human team was different. If they met a team that specialized in killing and stealing, it wouldn't be easy for them to escape if they couldn't beat them. Old Tan took out the royal spirit cannon and loaded it with shells, preparing to fight. Old Man Zhou said, "They have sensed us. With their strength, we won't be able to escape." Old Tan nodded and said with a heavy voice, "Everyone, if this team is filled with hostility, I will drag them down and let you guys evacuate." As a captain, he had to be responsible for his team members. If he encountered danger, he would definitely not run away. This moved Old Man Zhou and company greatly. Qin Yun also took out his high-grade body, securing talisman, and prepared to fight. The other team appeared. Just like them, there were only 5 of them. However, there were martial Dao realm cultivators among them. The 5 of them flew over and directly entered the 6th floor of the abandoned stone tower. Most of them were young. There were 2 young men, 2 middle-aged men, and a woman. And the most shocking thing was that the martial Dao realm cultivator was actually that young woman. Qin Yun and company's gazes were first focused on the woman. Not only was she eye-catching because she was in the martial Dao realm, her charming appearance also attracted people's attention. The woman had an oval face. Her appearance was not stunningly beautiful, but it was very pleasing to the eye. Her hair was casually tied up, and she had a healthy, wheat-colored skin. She wore a pair of animal skin shorts that revealed a pair of long and healthy, wheat-colored legs. She only wore a short animal skin shirt that wrapped around her full chest, revealing her navel and a few protruding muscles on her abdomen. She was tall and slender, appearing valiant and wild. She had a unique temperament and could be said to be a woman with boundless charm. Qin Yun had seen many beauties. Although the dark-skinned woman in front of him could not be considered the most beautiful, she exuded a strange charm that made his heart palpitate. "We are the Fierce Dragon Squad." A round-faced, middle-aged man coughed dryly and said. Only then did Qin Yun and company notice the person beside the woman. "What business do you have here?" Old Tan said, his heart filled with doubt and surprise. There was a young and powerful woman in the other team, but she didn't seem to be the team leader. The round-faced, middle-aged man smiled. "There was a horse-wolf magical beast horde earlier. I presume it was you who killed them? It could be seen that your strength was not bad. We came here to join hands with you to exterminate a very powerful magical beast horde. That magical beast horde has 2 spirit beasts and a magical beast crystal egg. A magical beast crystal egg could be exchanged for 50 million Xian points. It was the same value as a spirit beast's magic core. When the round-faced, middle-aged man saw that Old Tan and the others were all surprised, he said, "There are at least 5 magical beast crystal eggs. We don't know the specifics. In short, once we take down this magical beast horde, you should know the benefits, right? Even if it was divided equally between the 2 squads, it would still be a considerable amount." Old Tan said, "The horse-wolf magical beast horde was indeed killed by us. But why do you think we have the right to join you? You have a martial Dao realm cultivator, but we do not. If I'm not mistaken, you should be the Cannon King, Old Tan, right? Just the royal spirit cannon in your hand is more than qualified." Old Tan smiled and put down the royal spirit cannon in his hand. If this fierce dragon squad was truly hostile, they would have made their move a long time ago. Therefore, he was relieved now. Qin Yun secretly glanced at the valiant woman and realized that she was also looking at him. The woman crossed her arms in front of her chest with a faint smile on her face. She looked valiant and heroic, but her beautiful eyes were suffused with a flirtatious look. It was extremely alluring. Don't think that just because you have a little beard, I can't tell that you're a little brat. How old are you? The woman asked with a smile. Her voice was refreshing and pleasant to the ears, like an amiable wind blowing over. However, there was a hint of dominance in her tone. 16. This was the first time Qin Yun felt vexed because of his youth, especially when he was despised by such a strong woman. When the round-faced middle-aged man heard this, he frowned and said, "Old Tan, is this kid your grandson?" Old Tan shook his head. "No, he got separated from his team. I found him hiding in the basement, so I let him join my team. His cultivation is only at the 7th level martial body realm, but his mental strength is very strong." A black-clothed youth said anxiously, "Your team can join us, but this kid can't. He will drag us down." Another youth from the Fierce Dragon Squad also said, "That's right, he's only at the 7th level martial body realm. If we split the spoils of war, we will be at a great disadvantage." Old Tan hurriedly said, "My royal spirit cannon needs someone with good mental strength to control it. That way, I can also go out and fight. Ayun can control the royal spirit cannon very well. The previous horse Wolf King was killed by him with the royal spirit cannon. That won't do. He is only at the 7th level martial body realm, yet he wants to take away a person's spoils of war. Wouldn't it be a loss for us who are at the 9th level martial body realm? Unless he doesn't want the spoils of war." The black-clothed youth said. Old Tan's voice turned colder. "You said that Ayun is not worthy of share of the spoils of war. If he controls the royal spirit cannon, It is equivalent to having the power of the martial Tao realm. If he can deal with a spirit beast, why can't he split the spoils of war equally? Elder Zhou said coldly. Since that's the case, then we won't join you. Look down on us. The round-faced, middle-aged man said, Old Tan, we would rather you not go on stage and control the royal spirit cannon. That way, we can be more at ease. He, a little kid at the 7th level martial body, is not at ease at all to control the royal spirit cannon. You have to think it through. If you don't join us, it's very likely that you'll lose a few magical beast crystal eggs. The black-clothed youth from the Fierce Dragon Squad said coldly, Even if you don't join us, we can still find other teams to cooperate with. Qin Yun looked at the woman and said in a low voice, Sister, you are in the martial Tao realm. Whether or not you wanted to join is up to you. The woman smiled. I'm not the captain. I can't decide. It doesn't matter to me, as long as we can take down the magical beast horde in the end. The round-faced, middle-aged man was the captain. He lowered his head in thought and seemed to be wavering. As for the two youths, they were extremely opposed to Qin Yun joining them. They kept persuading the captain to reject Qin Yun's participation. Old Tan, if you let this little brother withdraw, he can join us. Once we successfully take down that magical beast horde, we will be able to obtain many magical beast crystal eggs and many magical beast cores. The round-faced, middle-aged man finally made his decision and said. Old Tan's face was filled with displeasure as he said with a somewhat cold tone, That's truly a pity. You should find another team to join. Ayun's strength has obtained my approval. He's my team member. If you look down on him, you're looking down on me, Old Tan. Qin Yun had just joined the team not long ago, but he was valued so highly. This made him secretly moved. Actually, he really wanted to cooperate with the Fierce Dragon Squad. If he could really obtain the magical beast crystal egg, he would be able to obtain quite a bit of benefits. Old Tan, join the Fierce Dragon Squad. I'll stay here and wait for you to return. Qin Yun said with a smile. He did not want Old Tan to give up such a good opportunity. Old Tan's face darkened as he said, Ayun, you are our team member. We will definitely not let you stay behind alone. This is too dangerous. The woman leaned against the wall and looked out the window. She said faintly, How about this? This brat looks like he has some ability, but we can't tell his true strength from the surface. Qin Yun nodded. That's right. It's normal for you to look down on me. After all, I'm only at the 7th level martial body realm. All right, I won't hide it anymore. I'm actually an inscription master, and I know how to craft talismans. I can refine a mid-grade body-securing bone talisman that can lock down a Class 8 magical beast. As for whether or not a Class 9 magical beast can be locked down, I'm not sure. In a large magical beast horde, there must be quite a few Class 7 or 8 magical beasts. This is a big obstacle. With just a few of you at the 9th level martial body realm, it won't be that easy to exterminate them. Furthermore, there are still Class 9 magical beasts to deal with. Other than that, there are also 2 spirit beast bosses. It won't be that easy to take them down. If I had my body-securing talisman, it would be much easier to lock down a Class 7 or 8 magical beast. Old Tan and the members of the Fierce Dragon Squad were stunned when they heard this. They could not believe that the youth in front of them was an inscription master. In an environment like the first town, an inscription master was even more precious. Those who could create talismans were even rarer. Only in such a large team would there be an inscription master. That was the core of a team. Is this true? How are you going to prove it? The valiant woman narrowed her beautiful eyes and asked with a smile of interest. That's easy. Can't I just refine a body-securing bone talisman on the spot? As Qin Yun spoke, he took out the furnace, the table, the giant king spirit hammer, and the carving knife. Seeing that he had all the tools, everyone believed half of it. Old Tan suddenly thought of something and said, Young inscriptionists are very rare to begin with. Furthermore, they are at the 7th level martial body realm. The crown prince of the Tianqin Empire, Qin Yun, is an inscription master. Furthermore, he is at the 7th level martial body realm. His mental strength is very powerful. Qin Yun grinned. I am Qin Yun. Everyone was alarmed once again. The legendary youth that could shake the world was actually right in front of them. Why are you here instead of staying at the Star Xianwu Academy? A genius like you should stay in the martial arts academy and cultivate in peace. It's too risky to come to such a place. Old man Zhou took a deep breath and said, if he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that this legendary young inscription master would come to such a dangerous place. Crafting a mid-grade bone talisman was very time-consuming. However, to martial artists who knew nothing about talisman crafting, it was very interesting. Therefore, they all opened their eyes wide and patiently watched Qin Yun craft the bone talisman. Chapter 215. Large Beast Horde. Qin Yun rarely made bone talismans, but he often made beast armor talismans. The process of making bone talismans and beast armor talismans were similar. They both had to process the materials properly, and the materials had to be compatible with the spirit inscriptions. They also had to store energy and activate the power of the spirit inscriptions. After he finished making the spirit bone cardboard needed for the bone talismans, he took out his carving knife and began to inscribe the body, securing mark. This process was extremely time-consuming. He was very familiar with the body securing mark. During the process of inscribing, the carving knife was like flowing water, smoothly gliding. Even if Old Tan and the members of the Fierce Dragon Squad did not understand the Tao of inscriptions, they could tell that Qin Yun was talented in this area, especially that skillful inscription technique. It was done in one go, natural and smooth, with the demeanor of a master. All right, now I need to inject energy. The stronger the inner force, the better. Qin Yun smiled at the woman and said, Elder sister, you are in the martial Tao realm. It's best if you use your inner force. The woman smiled lightly, revealing her pure white teeth. She took the bone talisman and poured her inner force into it. The moment she released her inner force, Old Tan, Old Zhou, and the others were secretly alarmed. Even the round-faced, middle-aged man revealed a look of surprise and envy. This woman looked very young, but she was in the martial Tao realm. This was the envy of old martial artists like Old Tan and the others. Not long after, the woman realized that she could no longer inject her inner force into it. She said, "Is that okay?" Qin Yun nodded. "That's enough. Now we can test the power of this body securing talisman. Let's use it on these two friends." He looked at the two youths from the Fierce Dragon Squad and smiled. The Valiant Beauty smiled lightly. She used her mental power to activate the mid-grade bone talisman and threw it at the two youths. The two youths refused in their hearts, but there was nothing they could do because the bone talisman had already been activated. The bone talisman was thrown over, and with a hoo sound, it exploded with an invisible shockwave. The shockwave rippled out for more than 10 meters, enveloping the entire room. Qin Yun never expected that the woman's inner force would be so terrifying. It could increase the power of the bone talisman by so much, causing the bone talisman's body securing force to cover a radius of more than 10 meters. Everyone here was enveloped by the power of this talisman. The faces of Old Tan and the other 9th-level martial artists all changed, revealing a trace of fear. This was because they were unable to move at that moment. At a critical juncture, if he was suddenly unable to move, he could easily lose his life. What was frightening was that, after a moment, they still couldn't move. Only the martial Tao realm woman was not frozen. The others were unable to move. What a terrifying body securing talisman. After Old Tan was able to move, he sighed in fear. All of the 9th-level martial body cultivators could move. Only Qin Yun was still frozen in place. Qin Yun smiled bitterly in his heart. It was indeed comical for him to be immobilized by the bone talisman he had refined. 10 seconds later, he could finally move. He had just noticed that a martial artist at the 9th-level martial body realm would be frozen for about 3 seconds. It was mainly because of the inner force of the martial Tao realm that the bone talisman became so strong. It should be able to freeze a Class 9 magical beast for a second or two. Old Tan looked at the round-faced, middle-aged man and the others and said, "Can we let Yin join now?" The round-faced, middle-aged man nodded and said, "But he has to refine those body, securing talismans for us. Each of us needs 2 of them. That shouldn't be a problem, right?" Yin nodded and said, "No problem. However, I need this sister's help to inject her inner force. Her inner force is strong enough, and the effect is the best. Otherwise, she won't be able to freeze a Class 9 magical beast." "All right, sister, what's your name?" "Lan Feng. Although the woman looked valiant and domineering, she was very warm to others. Otherwise, as a martial Dao realm cultivator, she would not have spoken so much to Qin Yun with a smile on her face. Qin Yun had never heard of this name before. However, he could investigate it in the future. Such a woman definitely had a great background. Following that, the 2 teams began to get to know each other. In the 2 teams, only Qin Yun and Lan Feng said their full names. The others hid their names. The round-faced, middle-aged man was nicknamed Big Mountain. He was a famous figure in the first town, but he rarely showed his face. Therefore, Old Tan had only heard of his name and had never seen him before. The 2 youths were his sons, and the other middle-aged man was Big Mountain's cousin. Qin Yun came to a quiet room and busied himself crafting talismans. As for Old Tan and the members of the Dragon Squad, they were discussing tactics outside. Lan Feng was a little impatient when she heard this. She seemed to be more interested in crafting talismans, so she went to Qin Yun's room. Qin Yun, who was crafting talismans, could not help but be shocked when he saw the beauty who exuded a strange charm. She looked valiant yet gentle. He suddenly felt a little nervous. After all, a man and a woman were alone in the same room. After Lan Feng entered, she did not say a word. She just sat on a table and shook her long, wheat-colored legs. There was a faint smile on her face. "Sister Lan, what's the matter?" Qin Yun was in the middle of smelting a large number of beast bones. He was not carving, so he could divert his attention to admire the mysterious and valiant beauty. "No, I just wanted to see you craft talismans. I won't speak so that I won't affect you." Lan Feng smiled gently. That beautiful and moving smile left Qin Yun somewhat dumbfounded. Qin Yun turned his head with difficulty and muttered a few words in his heart. Lan Feng's presence here was a great test of his mental fortitude. Even if she did not speak, her pair of slender and beautiful wheat-colored thighs were swaying back and forth. It was truly eye-catching. "Sister Lan, you're really amazing. You're already in the martial Dao realm at such a young age. How old are you this year?" Qin Yun asked. Lan Feng, who had a valiant and sexy appearance, smiled sweetly and said playfully, "A girl's age is a secret. Since you're so cute, I can tell you that I'm 26 this year, 10 years older than you." Qin Yun could not help but be taken aback. This was the first time a woman had called him cute. It made him want to take out a mirror and look at himself. How was the handsome and valiant him cute? Make the bone talismans seriously. It's very useful to us. Lan Feng warned softly. Qin Yun did not say anything else. He took out the refined beast bones and seriously hammered them. He spent a day forging 20 pieces of bone talisman paper. Following that, he began to inscribe the body, securing talisman. Lan Feng had been in the room with Qin Yun the entire time. From time to time, she would ask Qin Yun questions about refining materials and spear inscriptions. Qin Yun was also very generous, as he told her everything he knew. Previously, the members of the Fierce Dragon Squad looked down on him, but Gao Feng was not, so he had a very good impression of her. "Sister Lan, how did you join the Fierce Dragon Squad?" Qin Yun was very puzzled because Lan Feng did not fit in with those people. Furthermore, she was in the martial Dao realm. "I met them on the way. They said that they found a magical beast horde and that they could obtain a magical beast crystal egg, so I joined them." As Lan Feng spoke, she picked up a bone talisman that Qin Yun had just carved and began injecting her inner force into it. Qin Yun had been with Lan Feng for 2 days and realized that she was very interested in inscriptions. She also knew many very profound questions about inscriptions. There were some that Qin Yun was unable to answer. "Qin Yun, You'd better leave the first town as soon as possible. This place is still too dangerous for you. Lan Fengjin was somewhat familiar with Qin Yun as she said in a slightly stern tone. HM, once I successfully obtain the magical beast crystal egg, I will return to the Star Xianwu Academy. Qin Yun also knew that it was very dangerous for him to be alone in the second district. When Lan Fengjin saw that Qin Yun had agreed to leave, she smiled in satisfaction and said, "You don't look like there's a problem with your martial spirit. Rumor has it that your martial spirit has been crippled and you can only rely on the heavenly lion's arm to obtain power. Now, it seems that you are still hiding a very strong power." Qin Yun raised his left arm and said with a smile, "My heavenly lion arm has many variables to begin with. Since Sister Lan has told me such a private matter like your age, I'll also tell you a secret. My heavenly lion arm has accidentally awakened my martial spirit. The heavenly lion's arm's purple gold thunder flame martial spirit was extremely violent. If it were to engage in an intense battle, it would be impossible to hide it. Sooner or later, it would be exposed, so he dared to tell Lan Fengjin about it." Lan Fengjin was extremely surprised as she pinched Qin Yun's arm. Her beautiful and mature face changed slightly as she exclaimed in a low voice, "You little fellow, you're really a little monster." Qin Yun chuckled and continued inscribing. It took a total of 5 to 6 days to create 20 mid-grade body, securing bone talismans. Qin Yun distributed the bone talismans to the members of the two teams. He also kept 2 for himself. "All right, let's set off. If everything goes smoothly, we'll be able to obtain the magical beast crystal egg very soon." Mountain was extremely confident. His round face was filled with smiles. Noon was the time when the sun was at its hottest. The earth was baked like a steamer. The ruins of the first town were incomparably hot and shrouded in scorching waves of air. Through the 9 Yang divine spirit, Qin Yun could absorb the energy from the hot sunlight. He felt very comfortable. He was in a team with a martial Dao realm cultivator, so he didn't need to be too wary of magical beasts. He could seriously absorb the spiritual energy. 2 days later, in the morning, the fierce dragon squad suddenly stopped in their tracks. Mountain said solemnly, "Everyone, get ready. The magical beast horde is right in front of us. It's about 2,000 meters away from us." Everyone immediately perked up and retracted their auras as they carefully advanced. In front of them was a relatively large villa surrounded by walls. There were a few short mountains inside, and the scenery was originally beautiful. However, after the invasion of the magical beasts, it had turned into ruins and the short mountains had become bare. As he approached the horde of magical beasts, Qin Yun sensed a strong magical beast aura. In the past, when he encountered such a large horde of magical beasts, he could only avoid them. This was the first time he was so close. He took the Royal Spirit Cannon and 4 cannonballs from Old Tan and climbed up to the 20th floor of a building. This building was about 700 to 800 meters away from the horde of magical beasts. He could accurately hit it with the Royal Spirit Cannon. Qin Yun's mission was very difficult. There were 2 spirit beasts in the horde of magical beasts. He needed to use the Royal Spirit Cannon to heavily injure one of them and leave the other to Lan Fengjin. When Mountain and Old Tan approached the territory of the magical beasts, they were discovered by the magical beasts. "Charge!" Mountain shouted softly. They had already discussed the tactics in detail and knew how to cooperate. The 2 teams of people used their fastest speed to charge into the horde of magical beasts. Chapter 2:16. He had done a meritorious deed. Over 100 magical beasts suddenly roared in unison, causing the earth to tremble. The fierce aura of the magical beasts formed a gust of wind that howled out from the villa, blowing away many of the collapsed bricks and stones. Immediately, dust filled the sky. Old Tan and Mountain, who were charging in front, threw out several high-quality storm talismans to blow away the smoke and ensure a clear vision. From the top of the building, Qin Yun could see red shadows leaping out from the walls of the villa through the royal spirit cannon. These magical beasts were all agile and swift. When he took a closer look, he was secretly alarmed. Those were gorillas that were 2 meters tall. The gorillas were covered in red fur and had a 6-inch long horn on their heads. They had a mouth full of sharp teeth, and their bellies were stiff red scales. Their arms were very large and long, and their fists were like steel, shining with a metallic luster. These magical beasts are really terrifying. From the looks of it, they should be close combat type. The defense of their bodies is very strong. Qin no longer looked at the gorillas and focused his attention on Lan Fengjin. While Lan Fengjin was sprinting, she would throw out throwing knives from time to time. They contained the energy of the martial Dao realm and easily pierced into the body of the violent blood gorilla. Roar! A terrifying roar suddenly came from within the villa. The roar of the gorilla was as terrifying as that of a ferocious beast. Old Tan and company were dealing with a horde of magical beasts. Magical beasts of the 7th or 8th rank were easy to deal with. Only when a Class 9 magical beast approached would they use the body securing talismans. Lan Fengjin flew and quickly entered the villa. Suddenly, a pitch-black gorilla climbed up to the top of the short mountain. Its hands struck its chest with great force, creating waves of air that enveloped the entire villa. Is this a spirit beast? It doesn't look like it's injured. Qin Yun immediately controlled the royal spirit cannon and aimed at the gorilla that was a few meters tall. Bang! The royal spirit cannon trembled slightly, and 2 cannonballs flew out. In an instant, they landed on the gorilla's head and exploded with a wave of air. The gorilla was sent flying down the mountain and landed heavily on the ground. At the same time, another gigantic gorilla appeared. Its body was blood red, and it looked even more ferocious. When Lan Fengjin saw that the gorilla at the top of the mountain had been sent flying, she heaved a sigh of relief. One of the spirit beasts had already been killed. The remaining one was hers. After the red gorilla appeared, it charged at Lan Fengjin. Lan Fengjin jumped up and floated in the air, taking out a huge axe. Her giant axe shone with a blue light. The axe's blade was 1/2 meter long, and the axe's handle was more than 1 meter long. The entire axe was crackling with electricity. It seemed to be an extremely high-grade spirit weapon. Just as Qin Yun was about to watch the battle, he suddenly realized that the black gorilla that he had sent flying had climbed up the mountain again. A part of the black gorilla's head had been blown off. It was bleeding, but it wasn't dead. The gorilla shouted angrily. That furious aura caused Lan Fengjin, Old Tan, and the others to be secretly alarmed, especially Old Tan and the mountain. They thought that the royal spirit cannon had killed the black gorilla, but they never expected it to wake up. This guy's actually not dead. Qin Yun still had 2 more cannonballs. He immediately aimed the royal spirit cannon and fired again. Boom! After the black gorilla's head was hit, it immediately exploded. Its body tumbled down from the top of the hill. This time, it was completely dead. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Lan Fengjin also calmed down and continued to fight the blood-red gorilla. After the death of the black gorilla, the red gorilla became even more furious. The horn on its head suddenly shot out a red beam of light towards Lan Fengjin. Lan Fengjin narrowly avoided the red beam of light. If she was hit, she would definitely be severely injured. Boom! The red beam of light shot out from the red gorilla's horn landed on the ground, creating a crater that was more than 10 meters wide. It was extremely terrifying. Lan Fengjin had also hacked at the gorilla's body several times. They were all very deep, but the gorilla did not fall. Qin Yun was also extremely anxious as he watched. He was somewhat worried that the other magical beasts would come over. With such a huge commotion, it was very likely that the magical beasts in the distance would be alarmed. The villa was already in a mess. Now that an intense battle had broken out, all the walls had collapsed. The surrounding buildings that had turned into ruins were blown away by the shockwaves. The area where the fierce battle was fought was covered in rumbling sounds. It was extremely terrifying. Qin Yun watched Lan Fengjin's battle from afar. He felt that he should have blasted the red gorilla away. This was because the red gorilla was too strong. After being hacked so many times, it was still full of energy. The bones are very hard. Sister Lan's axe can't even cut through the bones. It can only cut through the skin and flesh. When Qin Yun realized this, he was secretly worried about Lan Fengjin's safety. Boom! The sudden muffled sound made everyone startled. A short mountain in the villa suddenly split open. A black gorilla broke out of the mountain and charged at Lan Fengjin. When Old Tan saw this, he hurriedly shouted, "Mountain, didn't you say that there were only 2 spirit beasts? Why are there 3 now?" "I'm sorry, we didn't investigate clearly." Mountain felt somewhat guilty. The Class 8 and 9 magical beasts they were facing now were far more than they had expected. Old Tan and company were currently fighting with a large group of Class 8 and 9 gorillas. They were unable to separate themselves, and it was difficult for them to retreat. For a moment, they were in a bitter battle. When Qin Yun saw the grim situation in front of him, he acted on his own and used the flaming cloud steps to rush towards Old Tan. "Old Tan, do you still have any more cannonballs?" Qin Yun asked. "No more." When Old Tan saw Qin Yun approaching, he became extremely anxious. "What are you doing here?" Qin Yun gritted his teeth and took out 2 bone talismans. He threw them at Old Tan and Mountain, stopping the violent blood gorillas that were attacking them and buying them time to severely injure the 2 gorillas. There were more than 20 Class 9 gorillas. This was something that the Fierce Dragon Squad had not expected. The pressure on Old Tan and Mountain had lessened by quite a bit. They could go and help the other team members. In this situation, it would not be difficult for them to retreat, even if they wanted to. They suddenly realized that not only could Qin Yun craft talismans, he was also quite strong. When his teammates were in danger, he did not cower and bravely ran over to save them. "I'll go get the magical beast crystal egg. Once we get the magical beast crystal egg, we'll retreat immediately." After Qin Yun finished speaking, he quickly rushed towards the villa. If she did not hurry, Lan Fengjin would not be able to hold on. She was currently facing 2 spirit beasts. Qin Yun had been observing the villa from a building in the distance. He guessed that the magical beast crystal egg was inside the short mountain. Otherwise, there would not have been a spirit-level magical beast coming out. The gorilla that had been killed had also climbed up to the top of the mountain in order to protect it. When Qin Yun rushed into the villa, Lan Fengjin knew his intentions. She shouted at him, "Qin Yun, it's up to you. Sister Lan, hold on a little longer." Qin Yun walked through the air as he sprinted towards the short mountain. He was extremely nervous. Soon, he arrived above the short mountain. He held a high-grade body, securing talisman in his hand, and jumped into the big hole. When he arrived below, a dangerous aura suddenly enveloped him. It was 2 Class 9 magical beasts. Although Qin Yun was extremely alarmed, he remained extremely calm. He hurriedly threw out the body, securing talisman in his hand, and froze the 2 Class 9 magical beasts. After the Class 9 magical beasts were frozen, he took out the giant King Spirit Hammer and activated the giant Spirit Martial Spirit inside, causing the giant King Spirit Hammer to become very large. He then activated the Berserk runes inside, causing the power of the King Spirit Hammer to become Berserk. He used the Heavenly Lion's arm to hold the giant King Spirit Hammer tightly. Combined with the power of the Nether Sun Inner Yuan and Vibration Inner Yuan, he executed the Falling Star style of the 6th-style Forging Dragon. Bang! The sledgehammer landed on the head of a blood-red gorilla, causing it to explode into flames. Boom! The giant King Spirit Hammer was raised and landed on the head of another gorilla, creating a flame. After the 2 Class 9 magical beasts were immobilized, they were killed by him in a few short moments. At this moment, he saw a large number of human corpses in the belly of the mountain. They were piled up on all 4 walls, emitting a foul stench. Qin Yun had killed 2 Stage 9 gorillas and had drained 80% of his inner force. Fortunately, his mental strength was still very full. The moment he released his mental energy, it covered the belly of the mountain and locked onto a place where the energy was gathered. He put away the corpses of the two gorillas and rushed towards the place where the energy was gathered. He saw more than 10 giant red eggs that were half a meter tall. They looked like red crystal balls. Is this the magical beast crystal egg? There are 16 of them. Qin was pleasantly surprised. Just as he was about to go over and take it away, he was suddenly sucked in by a whirlwind. He looked back and saw that a large amount of rocks had been sucked away. It was empty behind him. He could clearly see the black gorilla opening its huge mouth and swallowing. Qin immediately used the Imperial Spirit Art and controlled the magical beast crystal egg to fly over. When the magical beast crystal egg approached, it was stored in his storage space. Hoo! Lan Fengjin suddenly swooped down from the sky and chopped at the black gorilla's head with his axe, stopping it from swallowing. Qin hurriedly used the flaming cloud steps and shouted, "I got it!" Then, he used his mental energy to envelop the corpse of a spirit-level gorilla and floated it closer to him. Then, he stored it in a large storage bag. He flew into the air and saw that the red gorilla had been killed by Lan Fengjin. Lan Fengjin hurriedly retreated and collected the corpse of the red gorilla. There were still 20 to 30 stage 9 gorillas that had not been killed. Old Tan and company did not find it a pity as they decisively retreated and left the battlefield. After 4 hours of running, they finally stopped and rested in a shop on a street. Qin took out 10 magical beast crystal eggs and the corpse of the spirit-level gorilla. These things in his hands were the most expensive. There are actually 10 magical beast crystal eggs. Mountain was pleasantly surprised. Do you know now? Without Ayun, we wouldn't have been able to obtain the magical beast crystal eggs. Old Tan chuckled. Mountain's 2 sons did not speak. They were very clear about this. In the previous situation, without Qin help and the help of the bone talisman, not to mention the magical beast crystal egg, they might not even be able to obtain the corpse of a Class 9 magical beast. How do we split it? Lan Fengjin said as he glanced at Qin with a meaningful look in his eyes. Chapter 217. Witty escaped Qin felt a little guilty as he said, "I only want a magical beast crystal egg. Everyone has contributed greatly, especially Sister Lan and Old Tan's royal spirit cannon. All right, take this crystal egg." Mountain handed a crystal egg to Qin and said, "Let's split the magical beast crystal eggs first. One for each of us." As the captain of the Fierce Dragon Squad, Mountain did not contribute much. Furthermore, he did not investigate the exact situation of the magical beast horde. He only gave Qin a magical beast crystal egg, making Old Tan and company extremely unhappy. Old Tan said with a smile, "Ayun, you contributed the most. You shouldn't only get a magical beast crystal egg. Mountain, what do you think?" Lan Fengjin nodded and said, "If not for Qin, we would not have been able to get the magical beast crystal egg. His body-securing talisman also allowed us to kill quite a few Class 9 magical beasts." Mountain's son, the black-clothed youth, was somewhat dissatisfied. He's at the 7th level martial body realm. It's already not bad for him to be able to obtain a magical beast crystal egg. What else do you want? All right, I will distribute it fairly. Mountain glared at his son. Lan Fengjin had already spoken. If he were to distribute it unfairly, it would only cause disgust. One had to know that the information he had given was very wrong. It was already good enough that Old Tan and Lan Fengjin did not criticize him. 20 Class 9 magic cores, 2 Spirit Beast cores, and 70 Class 8 magic cores. Mountain thought for a moment and said, "Qin, we'll give you another 10 Class 9 magic cores. How about it?" Qin said, "I don't want the magic cores. Just give me the corpses of the spirit beasts. You can split the cores among yourselves." Lan Fengjin nodded. He's an inscription master. These materials are useful to him, so give them to him. The corpses of spirit beasts had a certain value if they were sold. Qin did not ask for any more magical beast cores. He wanted to give Old Tan and company more. He was satisfied with the corpses of 2 spirit beasts. He had personally witnessed how strong the bones of the 2 gorillas were. In the following distribution, Lan Fengjin and Old Tan receive the most, followed by Mountain. This cooperation is quite pleasant. I hope that we will have the chance to cooperate in the future. Mountain chuckled. Then, he looked at Qin Yun and asked, Ayun, are you selling your bow and talismans? One magic core for one. Qin Yun smiled. Big Mountain didn't ask any further. It was too expensive. If they were to be sold, a Class 9 magical crystal core would be worth around 10 million crystal coins. 10 million crystal coins for a talisman. This was simply asking for a sky-high price. Qin Yun also did not wish to craft talismans for Mountain and company. Other than Lan Fengjin, he did not like anyone else in the Fierce Dragon Squad. After distributing the spoils of war, they continued to rest. Everyone had yet to recover, so staying together was the safest option. After noon, the sunlight was not so strong. The originally clear sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds. The weather changed without warning. Time to go. Old Tan stood up and walked out of the shop. Walala, the heavy rain fell. Qin Yun and the others jogged through the empty street in the heavy rain. Before long, they arrived at a public square. Just as they were about to bid farewell to each other, they suddenly felt waves of aura assaulting them from all directions. A lot of people are nearby. Lan Fengjin said coldly with a serious expression. Just as she finished speaking, people jumped out one after another and surrounded the entire square. There were more than 100 people surrounding the square. They were all wearing bamboo hats and wielding weapons. Their expressions were ice cold, and their eyes were filled with killing intent. The violent blood gorilla horde was taken down by you, right? There aren't many of you, and you aren't strong either. However, to be able to defeat this magical beast horde, you do have some ability. An old man took off his bamboo hat, revealing his bald head. He held a sharp golden hook in his hand as he sneered. What do you want? Lan Fengjin asked coldly as she released the aura of a martial Dao realm cultivator. Following that, 2 or 3 auras of the martial Dao realm also leaked out from the group of people. This was a huge beast hunting team. There were 3 martial Dao realm experts, and the rest were at the 9th level martial body realm. Their strength was extremely terrifying, and it was definitely not something that Qin Yun and company could deal with. The violent blood gorilla beast should have a few magical beast crystal eggs. Just hand them over, and we won't make things difficult for you. The bald old man sneered. We came all the way here. We can't make a trip for nothing. The commotion caused by Qin Yun and company's attack on the magical beast horde had alarmed this large team. When they came over, they discovered that the horde of beasts had disappeared. All they saw was corpses all over the ground, and there was also the remnant aura of the magical beast crystal egg. After that, they tracked them all the way here. The magical beast crystal egg was so precious that no one wanted to hand it over. Mountain was even more unwilling. Previously, Qin Yun, who was at the 7th level martial body realm, had split a magical beast crystal egg. His heart ached to death. Everyone, can you give us some time to consider? As soon as Mountain finished speaking, he brought his 2 sons and his cousin to the side of the plaza. There were no martial Dao realm cultivators there. No one expected him to suddenly rush over. Furthermore, their speed was very fast. In an instant, they had traveled 80 to 90 meters. After Mountain rushed over, he threw out a body securing talisman. He actually still had a body securing talisman. This caused Qin Yun to curse angrily in his heart. After the many 9th level martial body cultivators were frozen by the body securing talisman, Mountain and company rushed over and used the weapons in their hands to kill fiercely. In an instant, Mountain and company had killed more than 10 9th level martial body cultivators. When the bald old man saw this, he roared in anger and charged at Lan Fengjin. The other 2 martial Dao realm cultivators immediately charged at Lan Fengjin. They did not dare to deal with a young martial Dao realm cultivator alone, especially a mysterious woman with a royal grade spirit artifact axe. In an instant, a chaotic battle erupted. Lan Fengjin struggled to deal with the three martial Dao realm elders. Some of the 70 to 89th level martial artists went to chase after Mountain and company. The others surrounded Qin Yun and company, wanting to capture them alive. Mountain and company suddenly attacked. It was obvious that they expected Lan Fengjin to block the three martial Dao realm cultivators while the rest of the people dealt with Old Tan and company. This way, they would have a high chance of escaping. As for Old Tan and Lan Fengjin, the chances of them being captured alive were even higher. They might even be killed. Lan Fengjin and Old Tan were extremely furious. Mountain's actions were undoubtedly betraying them. Old Tan said in a low voice, "Ayun, find a chance to escape." Just as he finished speaking, he saw Qin Yun take out a magical beast crystal egg. After Qin Yun took out the magical beast crystal egg, the 9th level martial artists that were surrounding him immediately stopped. "What are you doing?" When the bald elder saw Qin Yun's actions, he shouted. At that moment, he was fighting with Lan Fengjin and could not free himself. "Let's die together." Qin Yun laughed loudly as he threw the magical beast crystal egg to the ground. The magical beast crystal egg landed on the ground and exploded with a strong smell. It was accompanied by a strong wind that swept in all directions. The expressions of the bald elder and the other two martial Dao realm cultivators suddenly changed. They were filled with fear. "Retreat. Everyone, chase after the four who are running away. Use your fastest speed." The bald elder shouted angrily. Then, he and the other two elders immediately retracted their hands and chased after Mountain. Lan Fengjin looked at the shattered magical beast crystal egg on the ground. She was alarmed and hurriedly shouted, "Let's go." The torrential rain did not show any signs of stopping. The dark clouds in the sky churned even more fiercely. The constantly flashing lightning seemed as though it was about to tear the earth apart. "Brat, you are really reckless. If you do this, you will attract a lot of magical beasts." Old Tan ran as he scolded Qin Yun. "I didn't expect it to be true. Those guys were all frightened." Qin Yun chuckled before looking at Lan Fengjin beside him. Previously, when he was crafting talismans, Lan Fengjin was in the same room as him. She had said that the magical beast crystal egg was a very mysterious thing. It was not born from a magical beast, but from a magical beast through a very mysterious method. The weakest magical beast that came out of the magical beast crystal egg was a Class 9 magical beast. When it grew up, it would be a spirit-level magical beast. When it fully matured, it would be even more terrifying. If these fully matured magical beasts continued to reproduce, the magical beasts they gave birth to would be even stronger. The magical beasts that came out of the magical beast crystal egg were all the future kings of a magical beast horde. Therefore, the magical beasts that came out of the magical beast crystal egg were also the food of many powerful magical beasts. Once they broke out of their shells, they would release a very strong aura that could attract powerful magical beasts from all directions. This was what Lan Fengjin had told Qin Yun. Therefore, he had decisively shattered a magical beast crystal egg just now. The aura that seeped out was like a cub breaking out of its shell. It could attract powerful magical beasts from afar. The aura of a spirit-level magical beast was as terrifying as the aura of a martial Dao realm cultivator. They did not hide the aura they released, so they could sense it from afar. Qin Yun and company had only been running for a moment when they sensed the aura of a spirit beast. "Hide in the basement," Old Tan said before quickly entering an abandoned building on the side of the street. After they entered the basement, a giant shadow suddenly flashed across the sky. It was a flying magical beast. Only a flying magical beast could come so fast. Qin Yun and company each took out a glowing stone to illuminate the dark basement. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They had been extremely nervous just now. "Ayun, your reaction is really fast. If you hadn't abandoned a magical beast crystal egg, we wouldn't have escaped so easily." Old Tan laughed. "It will definitely take a long time for things to calm down. I'm going to rest." Elder Zhou entered a warehouse and closed the stone door. The basement was very large, and there were many warehouses. Elder Zhou's 2 sons also went to rest. Qin Yun, Old Tan, and Lan Fengjin were all outside. Yun, I'll give you my magical beast crystal egg. You put in so much effort, but you didn't get anything. This isn't good. Old Tan smiled and said, in any case, I've obtained a lot of magical beast cores. Old Tan, I won't hide it from you. Actually, I've obtained quite a few magical beast crystal eggs. I'll take them out and share them with you. Qin Yun said with a smile. Old Tan had spoken up for him several times and was loyal to him. Old Tan was slightly alarmed. He looked at Lan Fengjin and said in a low voice, keep it for yourself. I'm satisfied. Don't tell Old Man Zhou and the others about this. That's it. Lan Fengjin already knew about this matter, but she did not say anything. Otherwise, she would have exposed Qin Yun earlier. All right, I'm going to sleep first. You guys rest as well. Old Tan chuckled before entering a warehouse. When Qin Yun saw Old Tan leave, he smiled at Lan Fengjin and said softly, Sister Lan, do you want a magical beast crystal egg? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.